Chapter 2279. I was just passing by and didn't expect to encounter such a thing. At that time, my cultivation was only at the Third Order Origin King realm, so I could only watch from afar. So I saw everything, Yang Kai added. What? You were a Third Order Origin King at that time? Gao Shan and Lu Shui were stunned for a while before realizing something and exclaiming. If what Yang Kai said was true, then he was only a Third Order Origin King 2 years ago. But now he was already a Second Order Dao Source Realm cultivator. It was almost a year for him to advance a minor realm. This kind of promotion speed was simply terrifying. If he continued to grow at this speed, wouldn't he be in the Third Order Dao Source Realm next year? And the Emperor Realm the year after that? Of course, it was not easy for a Dao Source Realm cultivator to break through to the Emperor Realm, but Yang Kai should be able to do it in 10 or 20 years, right? What's more, Gao Shan and Lu Shui had heard that this boy had swallowed an extraordinary treasure pill in the Four Seasons realm, so his chances of breaking through to the Emperor realm were much higher than ordinary people. When they thought of how the two of them had been pursuing the Emperor realm for most of their lives, but still couldn't touch the threshold of the Emperor realm, while this boy had the hope of breaking through at such a young age, the two old men couldn't help but feel upset. All kinds of emotions welled up in their hearts. So, Yang Kai spread his hands. Ning Yuancheng's death has nothing to do with me. Ning Yuanshu frowned, not knowing whether to believe him or not. After a moment of silence, he suddenly came to a realization. Then what about my big brother's things? I heard that you used a ship artifact of my flying Saint Palace. Where is that artifact? Also, my big brother bought a fire attribute artifact spirit at the auction. Where is that artifact spirit? What are you talking about, young palace master? I don't understand. Yang Kai squinted at Ning Yuanshu. Don't play dumb. Ning Yuanshu was furious. My big brother is dead, but his things still belong to my flying Saint Palace. This young master needs to get them back. Yang Kai scratched his face and said, Don't be like this. Flying Saint Palace is a big family. 1 or 2 ship artifacts are nothing to us. Since it's nothing, give it back to me. Ning Yuanshu shouted. AI. Yang Kai sighed and said, All right. To tell you the truth, the ship artifact has been destroyed. Destroyed? Ning Yuanshu's eyes widened in shock. Impossible. That's a Dao Source grade ship we're talking about. It's capable of withstanding the onslaught of any cultivator below the Emperor realm. It's impossible for it to be destroyed so easily. Even my flying Saint Palace doesn't have many such ships. Yang Kai said seriously. It was destroyed by the masters of the Emperor realm. The ship artifact was indeed destroyed. It had been smashed to pieces by Auntie Feng, who had taken Mo Shaoqi away. Auntie Feng was a Third Order Emperor realm master. What's the big deal about destroying a ship? Later, in order to compensate Yang Kai for his loss, Auntie Feng gave Yang Kai a wooden boat artifact. Although it was not as large and magnificent as a ship, it was simple and light, making it quite convenient to use. The corner of Ning Yuanshu's mouth twitched when he heard this. Who the hell did you provoke? Gao Shan was also surprised. You fought with a master from the Emperor realm? You didn't die? For a moment, the people of Flying Saint Palace were all shocked by Yang Kai. It wasn't really a fight. Yang Kai's face turned red. It's just being ravaged. Fortunately, that senior didn't have any intention of killing us. Saying so, he continued. Besides, after Ning Yuancheng died, that ship became an ownerless object. It belongs to whoever finds it, and since I found it, it naturally belongs to me. What are you still blabbering on about? Good, Ning Yuanshu shouted. Even if the ship was destroyed, what about the fire attribute artifact spirit? It's said that the artifact spirit has already gained sentience. Yang Kai sneered. Young palace master has already said so. The artifact spirit has already gained sentience, so of course it ran away. Ran away? It's not like you haven't seen the power of an artifact spirit that has gained sentience before, Yang Kai sneered, referring to the artifact spirit of the demonic battle weapon. Hearing this, Ning Yuanshu's expression changed slightly. He clearly remembered the scene of the artifact spirit flying into a rage, and couldn't help but look a little shocked. So there's nothing left? Gao Shan frowned. What else can there be? Didn't I already give you an explanation? Yang Kai chuckled. As for the other master of your flying saint palace, Fu Si Tong, well, this person is very strong. Even if I say that I killed him, I'm afraid you won't believe me. Look at you, you don't have the ability to do that. Ning Yuan-shu sneered and said sarcastically, City Lord Duan has already said that Elder Fu's death was caused by the erosion of the demonic qi. That's it. Yang Kai clapped his hands and grinned. Then our misunderstanding is resolved. Don't bother me in the future, and say that I harmed the people of your flying saint palace. Young palace master, I think you're a good person. In the future, we can get along well and be good friends. Upon hearing him say the word good friend, Ning Yuan-shu couldn't help but look around in fear that the demonic artifact's spirit would attack again. You don't have the final say. Gao Shan slowly shook his head. Then what do you say? Yang Kai's face turned cold. We don't have the final say, Lu Shui added. Then who has the final say? Yang Kai's expression was gloomy. Gao Shan said, If you really have a clear conscience, you might as well return to the Holy Palace with us and explain to the palace master in person, and let him decide. That's right. Lu Shui also nodded. We need to return to the Holy Palace. Hearing this, Yang Kai chuckled and looked at Gao Shan meaningfully. Two protectors. Are you misunderstanding something? What? I'm willing to explain this to you, not because I'm afraid of you, but because I don't want to cause trouble for no reason. Believe it or not. But if you dare to provoke me for no reason, ha ha ha. As he spoke, his face was full of smiles, but his eyes were cold. Gao Shan and Lu Shui inexplicably felt a chill run down their spines, and suddenly felt a sense of danger, causing their pupils to shrink. On second thought, Yang Kai had a close relationship with Elder Gao Xueting of Azure Sun Temple. Elder Gao had just asked him in front of many people to find her in her room at night. With this relationship, they didn't dare to make a move against Yang Kai again. Otherwise, if they angered Gao Xueting, their lives would be in danger. Even if the palace master came in person, he wouldn't be able to do anything to Yang Kai unless he was taken away without anyone knowing. Thinking of this, Gao Shan and Lu Shui suddenly felt that the situation was a little tricky. Gao Shan said, Young Master Yang, if you don't want to go back to the Holy Palace with us, it's fine, but you have to write us a letter so that we can show it to the Palace Master. Otherwise, the Palace Master will blame us for neglecting our duties and not accomplishing anything in Maplewood City. It's none of my business. Yang Kai coldly snorted. Don't, Young Master Yang, let's talk nicely. Gao Shan begged. Get lost. As Yang Kai spoke, he put the myriad sword in front of him and said fiercely, I'll say it one last time. If you still insist on being stubborn, don't blame me for not showing mercy. As soon as he finished speaking, a surge of source qi rose, and a pure divine sense burst out, enveloping Gao Shan and Lu Shui. Gao Shan and Lu Shui were shocked. They only felt that the figure of the young man in front of them suddenly became extremely tall, blocking all the light in front of them. The aura he released was like a mountain pressing on their chests, making it difficult for them to breathe. It was not until this moment that the two of them suddenly realized that Yang Kai's strength was not under Luo Yuan's. It felt like a moment, but also like a million years. When the two old men came back to their senses, Yang Kai was no longer in front of them, and their backs were wet and uncomfortable. They looked at each other and saw the horror in each other's eyes. This person can't be provoked anymore, Gao Shan said in a deep voice. Gao Shan said in a deep voice, a look of lingering fear on his face. He was subconsciously telling himself that if he continued to provoke Yang Kai, he would really end up provoking him into a massacre. Lu Shui wiped the sweat on his forehead and nodded heavily. Then I was beaten up by him for nothing? Ning Yuan-shu pointed to his cheek with a look of grief and indignation. He humiliated me before, and he also killed Zhuang Pan. How can my flying saint palace just swallow this? How can this young master mingle in the Southern Territory in the future? Gao Shan glanced at him and sighed. Zhuang Pan was a petty villain. His death is not worth regretting. As for young palace master, just treat it as a mosquito bite. Ning Yuan-shu heard this, and the corners of his mouth twitched. But since the two old men had said so, Even if he wanted to take revenge, he was powerless. He could only feel his mouth being stuffed with bitterness. In the Qin family, Yang Kai returned with Qin Chaoyang and the others. He had nowhere to go in Maplewood City now. Originally, he had rented a cave mansion. But after the time limit was up, he did not rent it again. Fortunately, the Qin family was not an outsider to him, so it was natural for him to live there. The people from the octagonal door naturally returned to their own courtyards, under the lead of Luo Yuan and the round-faced woman. However, Yang Kai could see the dangerous look in Luo Yuan's eyes. He was afraid the boy wanted to fight with him again, which gave him a headache. Brother Yang, this courtyard was specially cleaned by this old man. It is also one of the best residences in the Qin family, so you can rest here. Qin Chaoyang personally led Yang Kai to a courtyard and said, "Thank you for your trouble, Qin family head." Yang Kai said politely, "You're welcome. If there's anything you need, just call the servants." Qin Chaoyang laughed. "Okay, I won't disturb your rest. I'll go see how you are doing. Take care, Qin family head." After Qin Chaoyang left, Yang Kai led Zhang Ruoxi into the courtyard. The courtyard wasn't very big, but it was clean and elegant. It was spotless, and the world energy here was abundant. Yang Kai was quite satisfied with it. After looking around for a while, Yang Kai asked Zhang Ruoxi to find a room for herself. He then turned around and looked speechlessly at Yi Jinghan, who had been following him silently like his shadow, and sighed deeply. When Yi Jinghan saw him like this, she quickly bit her red lips and squeezed out a smile. "Don't smile, it's uglier than crying," Yang Kai said with a disgusted look. When Yi Jinghan heard this, her tender body trembled, her face turned pale, and her eyes turned red. Chapter 2280. What's the matter? Let's talk inside. Yang Kai tilted his head and gestured to her, then pushed open the door of a room and walked in. Yi Jinghan was startled upon hearing this, but the grievance on her face quickly turned into joy, and she said in a tender voice, "Thank you, young Master Yang." She quickly followed him in, as if she was afraid that Yang Kai would go back on his word. In the room, Yang Kai looked around, but before he could clearly see the furnishings and decorations in the room, Yi Jinghan had already taken small steps forward and placed a stool behind him, then said in a gentle voice, "Please take a seat, young Master Yang." Yang Kai glanced at her and didn't refuse her, reaching out to flick his robe and sitting down. Yi Jinghan picked up the teapot on the table and poured a cup of water for Yang Kai, then placed it in front of him and said, "Young Master Yang, please have some water." After saying this, she waved her hand, and a plate of fruits appeared on the table, filled with fresh and fragrant spirit fruits. She said with a faint smile, "I brought these from Thousand Leaves sect. I don't know if they'll suit young Master Yang's taste, but I hope you won't dislike them." A strange expression appeared on Yang Kai's face. He had never been served so well by anyone before, so he secretly felt that Yi Jinghan would be very competent if she were to become a servant. "Why are you following me around like this?" Yang Kai looked at her warily. "Don't tell me you've taken a fancy to me? Let me say this first. Although I'm a handsome man who is loved by countless young women," he flicked his hair and changed the topic, then said in a deep voice, "I'm already a married man, so I advise you not to have any improper thoughts." Yi Jinghan's face turned red upon hearing this and she said, "What are you saying, young Master Yang?" She didn't know whether to laugh or cry. She had never seen such a shameless person praise her before. "Ah, isn't that the case?" Yang Kai wore an embarrassed expression. He chuckled dryly and said, "I'm just kidding, don't take it to heart." As he spoke, he picked up a spirit fruit on the table and put it in his mouth. He found that it tasted pretty good and nodded repeatedly. "Speak. What kind of pill do you want me to refine?" "What?" Yi Jinghan was confused by his question, and a confused look appeared on her face. Yang Kai sneered, "You've been following me since you recognized me. You're so attentive and slick. You're just short of offering yourself to me. Aren't you asking me to do something for you?" "Yes." Yi Jinghan nodded lightly. "Don't tell me you don't want me to refine pills?" Yi Jinghan was enlightened, and she said with a smile, "Young Master Yang's alchemy skills have reached the acme of perfection, Since you were able to refine an extinct spirit pill, like the extraordinary treasure pill, your attainments and aptitude in this field are naturally unparalleled. Although it's flattery, but it was very comfortable. Kai Yang grinned meaningfully. Yi Jinghan said, "Young Master Yang, I didn't look for you to refine pills for me. What are you trying to do?" Yang Kai frowned. This time, he was really vigilant. Yi Jinghan explained, "Even though our Thousand Leaves sect isn't a great sect, we still have a Dao Source grade alchemist. So we don't need to trouble young Master Yang with the alchemy. I'm looking for young Master Yang to ask you to repair something." "Repair something?" Yang Kai raised his brows. "What is it?" Yi Jinghan pursed her red lips. She looked around warily and hesitated for a long while before she said, "A space array." "A space array?" Yang Kai's eyes narrowed and he chuckled. "It seems like many people know that I possess the space divine technique." He had used his space force in front of so many people in the Four Seasons realm, so this matter couldn't be concealed. Yang Kai had already expected this, but he didn't expect that Yi Jinghan would look for him for this matter. She obviously wanted to borrow his space force to repair the space array. Yi Jinghan said, "I heard it from someone else." Yang Kai said, "If it's just repairing a space array, you don't need me, right? Wouldn't array grandmasters be able to do the same?" Yi Jinghan smiled bitterly. If it was an ordinary space array grandmasters would be able to repair it as well. But the one in my Thousand Leaves sect, we've looked for several array grandmasters, and even the Gong family's people, but they still couldn't repair it. Even the Gong family's people couldn't repair it? Yang Kai was startled when he heard this. Then he thought of something and shouted, "Could it be the two-realm space array?" Yi Jinghan's beautiful eyes lit up, and she nodded. Young Master Yang's vision is really sharp. It's the two-realm space array. Yang Kai's expression changed slightly, and he cast a sidelong glance at Yi Jinghan, asking, "Does your Thousand Leaves sect have a sealed world?" Yi Jinghan smiled bitterly. "I knew that I couldn't hide it from young Master Yang." "That's right, our Thousand Leaves sect does have a sealed world. It's a place where our disciples enter to train. That sealed world was born in a space crevice and drifted around. Apart from using the space array to enter, there's no other way. But 2,000 years ago, the space array inexplicably lost its effect, and since then, we haven't been able to enter it." "Is that sealed world very important to your Thousand Leaves sect?" Yang Kai asked. Yi Jinghan nodded. "Our Thousand Leaves sect couldn't compare to top sects like the Azure Sun Temple and the Heavenly Martial Holy Land 2,000 years ago, but it was still considered a first-rate sect. Unfortunately, ever since the entrance to the sealed world closed, our sect has declined year after year. Until today we are." At this point, she couldn't finish her sentence. Yang Kai sneered. "What does it have to do with the sealed world if our disciples don't work hard? Not every sect in this world has its own sealed world. If we really work hard, it doesn't matter if we have a sealed world or not." Yi Jinghan's face turned pale and she said bitterly, "Young Master Yang is right. It's just that when the entrance to the sealed world closed more than 2,000 years ago, the previous sect master took many of the sect's inheritances into the sealed world, including our Thousand Leaves sect's sect-guarding treasures. Without those inheritances, many of our Thousand Leaves sect's divine abilities can no longer be cultivated. Most importantly, our Thousand Leaves sect's spirit-gathering array was originally set up with the sealed world as the source, so when the entrance closed, the world energy in the sect." "I understand." Yang Kai understood what Yi Jinghan was trying to say. Losing many of their divine technique inheritances and sect-guarding treasures was one thing, but the main problem was that there was no supply of world energy. A cultivator needed world energy the most for their cultivation, and once the world energy was thin, the strength of Thousand Leaves sect's disciples would naturally decline with each generation. Yi Jinghan bit her red lips and said in a deep voice, "I would like to ask young Master Yang to accompany me to the Thousand Leaves sect to repair the two-world spatial array at the entrance to the sealed world. If young Master Yang can agree, I and the entire Thousand Leaves sect will be extremely grateful, and will also give you a generous gift." This. Yang Kai's eyes darted around as he tried to think of an excuse, but couldn't come up with one even after thinking for a while. So he could only say, I understand, but this young master is very busy. How about this, you go back first. And when this young master has some free time, this young master will make a trip to your 1,000 Leaves sect. I promise you that I won't disappoint you. Yi Jinghan could tell that he was just brushing her off, and if she really listened to him and left, she would probably never see Yang Kai again. So she could only plead bitterly, Young Master Yang, in this world, only someone proficient in the Tao of Space can repair our sect's spatial array. But the Tao of Space is too mysterious and complex, and ordinary people can't even begin to comprehend it. I heard that there is a master in the Eastern Territory's Spirit Beast Island who is proficient in the Tao of Space, but that master is a third-order Emperor Realm master. So how can my trifling 1,000 Leaves sect invite him? Are you implying that this young master is just a second-order Tao Source Realm master? Yet you can invite him? Yang Kai cast a glance at her. Yi Jinghan hurriedly waved her hands and said, This mistress didn't mean that. Please don't take offense, young Master Yang. Yang Kai nodded and said, I have also heard of the person you are talking about. He's from Spirit Beast Island. Mo Xiaoqi seemed to be from Spirit Beast Island, and even though she had never admitted it herself, Yang Kai gradually guessed Mo Xiaoqi's origins based on his understanding of the star boundary and Auntie Fang's terrifying strength. Only someone from Spirit Beast Island could command so many monster beasts to fight for them. When Yang Kai thought of Mo Xiaoqi, he wondered how she was doing now. He hadn't been in the star boundary for long, so he didn't know many people. Kong Si Ran was transferred away by Purple Source Chamber of Commerce after he broke through to the Tao Source realm, while Mo Xiaoqi was captured by Auntie Feng. When Yi Jinghan saw that Yang Kai was lost in thought and didn't respond for a long time, she gritted her teeth and said, Actually, this mistress came to find young Master Yang because of someone else's recommendation. Which bastard is so immoral? Tell me. I promise I won't beat him to death. Yang Kai flew into a rage. Yi Jinghan pursed her lips and said with a smile, Young Master Yang should know Gong Wenshan, right? It's that little brat. Yang Kai's eyes bulged. Do you know him? Gong Wenshan was obviously a rising star of the Heavenly River Valley's Gong family. The Gong family was a Spirit Array Grandmaster, and Gong Wenshan was also a Spirit Array Grandmaster. In the Four Seasons realm, Gong Wenshan had borrowed the power of the Flowing Time Temple's seal to block Wuchang, causing this young genius of Heavenly Martial Holy Land to miss a great opportunity. This little brat looks simple and honest, but he's actually quite daring and full of evil tricks. Yang Kai had never expected that Gong Wenshan would recommend him to Yi Jinghan. Yi Jinghan replied, A few years ago, I invited him to 1,000 Leaves sect to repair the space array, but he didn't succeed. Brother Gong said that if we wanted to repair the array, we had to find someone proficient in the Tao of Space. 3 months ago, I received a letter from him asking me to look for young Master Yang. I was planning to go to Azure Sun Temple to try my luck after dealing with the matters here. But I didn't expect to run into you here. Young Master Yang, don't you think this is fate? She wore an excited look on her face, as if she was a young girl yearning for love. Yang Kai snorted. Fate only exists between a resentful man and an infatuated woman. Do you want to have fate with me? Yi Jinghan sweated profusely and said embarrassedly, Young Master Yang, you must be joking. I'm afraid I don't have such good fortune. I've only met that little brat Gong Wenshan once, so I'm not familiar with him. He has to take responsibility for his words, and it has nothing to do with this young master. Yi Jinghan sighed deeply and said faintly, Young Master Yang, are you really unwilling to help me? She gently bit her thin lips, looking delicate and pitiful, as if she was a pitiful person. But Yi Jinghan was really clingy, and Yang Kai felt that if he didn't agree to her request, she would probably chase him to the ends of the earth, which would only make things more troublesome. If that really happened, he would have a young woman following him around all day, looking at him with an aggrieved expression. If someone who didn't know the inside story saw this, they would think that he had abandoned her, which would be a scandal. However, the Emperor Heaven Valley mentioned by Yi Jinghan piqued Yang Kai's interest. Since it could help a cultivator break through to the Emperor realm, It must be related to comprehending the heavenly way and martial Tao. Although Yang Kai was only a second-order Tao source realm cultivator now, comprehending the heavenly way and martial Tao wouldn't be a bad thing for his growth. If he supplemented it with the extraordinary treasure pills, he would surely break through to the Emperor realm in the future. After a short silence, Yang Kai sat in his room and cultivated until midnight. He had just broken through to the second-order Tao source realm, so he naturally needed to consolidate his foundation. As night fell, Yang Kai pushed open the door and went out. His figure flickered, and he arrived at the city lord's mansion in just a dozen breaths. The guards outside the city lord's mansion were nothing to him, but the moment he entered the city lord's mansion, Yang Kai suddenly felt a chill run down his spine. He felt several powerful divine senses sweep over his body and disappear in a flash. Although it was only for a short moment, it still made him shiver and break out in a cold sweat. Those divine senses belonged to genuine masters from the Emperor realm. It was obvious that they belonged to Xiao Yu Yang and the others who lived in the city lord's mansion. A few of the strands of divine sense only examined him for a moment before withdrawing, but one strand of divine sense continued to guide him. Yang Kai sniffed and followed the direction of that divine sense. Soon he arrived outside a room. He raised his hand, but before he could knock on the door, he heard Gao Shueting's voice from inside. "Come in." Upon hearing this, Yang Kai pushed open the door and entered. He saw Gao Shueting sitting cross-legged on the bed and looking at him with her bright eyes. Yang Kai grinned and said, "Junior greets Elder Gao. I didn't expect that after we parted that day, we would meet again in Maplewood City. Elder Gao, what are you doing?" Before he could finish speaking, he saw Gao Shueting wave her hand. With a burst of source qi, the door closed with a bang, and an invisible barrier appeared in the room, enveloping it and isolating it from the outside world. Isn't she being too cautious? She even needs to open a barrier? A dissatisfied voice sounded from the other side of the room. Xiao Yu Yang opened his eyes and muttered playfully, "Little girl Gao, what are you doing? I wanted to see what kind of magic that little brat has, but now I've failed." At the same time, in the rooms of the various masters from the Emperor realm, everyone was curling their lips. It was obvious that they had all been spying on Gao Shueting's room, but were blocked by a barrier. For a moment, the room was completely isolated. Gudong, Yang Kai gulped. He didn't know why, but he had a bad feeling in his heart. "Take off your clothes." Gao Shueting looked at Yang Kai expressionlessly and ordered. "Huh." Yang Kai's expression changed drastically as he said in surprise, This isn't appropriate, right? What are you blabbering about?" Gao Shueting coldly snorted. Seeing Yang Kai dilly-dallying, she immediately became impatient. She didn't seem to move, but she suddenly appeared in front of Yang Kai and stretched out her hand to grab him. Yang Kai only felt that her slender jade hand had turned into a five-fingered mountain and was about to envelop him. He couldn't help but feel that he couldn't avoid it. Immediately afterward, he felt something tighten around his neck and was lifted up by Gao Shueting. In the next moment, Yang Kai was spun around by an external force. As he spun, his clothes quickly fell off and flew out. In the blink of an eye, Yang Kai was stripped down to his underwear. "Elder Gao, stop!" Yang Kai cried out in a shrill voice. Gao Shueting turned a deaf ear to his cries. She stretched out her hand and made Yang Kai stop. Then, she pinched her orchid fingers and moved them like the wind. Suddenly, she tapped several acupoints on Yang Kai's body. At the same time, her beautiful eyes flickered as she stared at the changes in Yang Kai's body. Her beautiful eyes clearly swept across every part of Yang Kai's body, almost looking at him from head to toe. After a while, she nodded slightly and said, "Very good, there's no big problem." As soon as she finished speaking, Yang Kai suddenly felt that the force that was restraining him had disappeared. He hurriedly crawled to Gao Shueting's bed and covered himself with the blanket. He shivered and looked as if he had suffered a great trauma. Gao Shueting sneered. "Are you shy now?" Yang Kai's face turned pale, and the corner of his mouth twitched. "Elder Gao, what are you doing?" Only now did he understand why Gao Shueting had set up a barrier. If someone saw this scene, they wouldn't be able to clear their name. Gao Shueting said sternly, Your cultivation has progressed too quickly. Not long ago, you were still in the first-order Dao Source realm. Now you're already in the second-order Dao Source realm. This queen is just checking to see if there are any hidden dangers. What do you think this queen wants to do? As she finished speaking, Gao Shueting's eyes flickered with a cold light, which made Yang Kai shudder. Even if you want to check, you don't have to do this. Yang Kai pulled a long face. If that's all, you naturally don't have to do this. But this queen heard that a demonic artifact spirit was born today and chased after you. This queen needs to make sure that you haven't been corroded by the demonic qi. I'm not young anymore. I'm not a child. This queen is old enough to be your great-grandmother. What's wrong with checking your body? At this point, Gao Shueting raised the corner of her mouth and sneered. Young man, your muscles are pretty good. It seems that your physique isn't ordinary. Elder Gao, you flatter me. Yang Kai wiped the cold sweat on his forehead and said embarrassedly, What's the result? The result is pretty good. As Gao Shueting spoke, she reached out and grabbed Yang Kai's clothes a few times. Then, she threw them to him and said, Although your cultivation speed is very fast, there are no signs of your foundation being unstable. There are also no signs of being corroded by the demonic qi. Yang Kai said timidly, What if I've been corroded by the demonic qi? What should I do? Then you're a dead man now. Gao Shueting's phoenix eyes turned cold. She looked at him and said, Why? Do you have anything to say to me? No. Absolutely not. Yang Kai hurriedly waved his hands. He made up his mind that no matter what, he couldn't let Gao Shueting know that the demonic spirit was sealed in his body. Even the demonic artifact was in his hands. Young man, there's something strange about you. Are you hiding something from this queen? Gao Shueting's voice turned cold. Yang Kai smiled bitterly and said, Of course not. Elder Gao, you've misunderstood. Gao Shueting stared deeply at Yang Kai. After a while she said, That's good. If this queen finds out that you're hiding something from me, I'll definitely teach you a lesson. Yang Kai didn't dare to say anything. He just put on his clothes under the blanket. Chapter 2282. Not long after, Yang Kai finished dressing. How long do you want to occupy this queen's bed? Gao Shueting looked at him coldly. Yang Kai felt dejected and helplessly climbed down from the bed and stood in front of Gao Shueting. Let me ask you, where did the demonic artifact spirit go? Gao Shueting suddenly asked. Everyone said that the artifact spirit was chasing after you. But today, Master Xiao and I searched all the way to Clear Jade Mountain, but we lost track of it. It seemed to have disappeared all of a sudden. Even Master Xiao couldn't find any clues. Do you know where it went? Yang Kai quickly shook his head, indicating that he didn't know. Then how did you get away safely? Gao Shueting frowned. Yang Kai smiled and said, Elder Gao, you know that this junior cultivates the Tao of space, and I'm the best at escaping. At that time, I ran to Clear Jade Mountain and used a concealing aura secret technique to hide in the void. The artifact spirit chased after me, but after failing to find anything, it left on its own. As for where it went, I don't know. Gao Shueting stared deeply at him, a bright light flashing in her beautiful eyes, as if she wanted to look into the depths of Yang Kai's heart. Yang Kai felt guilty, fearing that she would see through him. After a long time, Gao Shueting nodded and said, If this queen finds out that you're hiding something, I won't let you off easily. Yang Kai wiped the cold sweat on his forehead and said, I wouldn't dare. I don't think you have the guts. As Gao Shueting spoke, she sat on the edge of the bed and sighed softly. But to be honest, we were careless. If only we had investigated carefully after the battle with the demon dweller. If we had checked carefully, perhaps this trouble wouldn't have happened. She sighed. An expression of self-blame appeared on her face. Her words made Yang Kai feel guilty. If Gao Shueting knew that the demon she fought with that day was standing in front of her right now, who knew what would happen? Yang Kai quickly changed the topic and said, Everything has its own destiny. Elder Gao, you don't have to think too much. Gao Shueting glanced at him and snorted coldly. Then, she waved her hand and a ray of light shot towards Yang Kai. Yang Kai was slightly surprised. However, he did not dodge because he realized that Gao Shueting had no intention of attacking him. He reached out and grabbed the light in front of him. When he opened his palm, he discovered that it was actually a token. It was about the size of a palm, and was made of an unknown material. The back of it was engraved with the image of a cultivator's back. That back was tall and broad, as if it was standing in the air, looking down on the world. Although it was only a picture, it still made people feel an imposing aura. The corners of Yang Kai's mouth twitched when he saw this, because he realized that the back of this figure resembled Wen Zishan. As for the front, there were 2 large words inscribed on it. Qingyang. The token was golden in color. The golden light was dazzling. It was extremely dazzling. This is... Yang Kai's expression changed slightly, and he looked at Gao Shueting suspiciously. The identity token of a disciple of the Divine Hall. Gao Shueting replied faintly. Ah. Yang Kai was surprised, but he immediately smiled bitterly and said, But Elder Gao, I'm not a disciple of the Divine Hall. Isn't it inappropriate for me to take this token? From now on you are. Gao Shueting replied. Yang Kai was stunned for a moment, but he kept nodding and said, Elder Gao, you're forcing me to do this. Do you want to ask for my opinion first? Gao Shueting glanced at him and said, Didn't I ask for your opinion last time? Haven't you thought about it after such a long time? Yang Kai hurriedly said, I need more time to think about it. This matter is too complicated, and I can't think it through right now. Please give me some time, Elder Gao. How long? 30 or 50 years would be best. Yang Kai saw a layer of frost on Gao Shueting's face after he finished speaking, so he hurriedly said, Of course, 10 or 8 years is also okay. Haha. Gao Shueting suddenly sneered. Yang Kai couldn't help but shudder. His whole body was cold, and the soles of his feet were about to cramp. Gao Shueting said leisurely, It seems that my good temper gave you the wrong impression. Do you think that I'm easy to talk to? Do you think that I'm not dignified at all? Of course not. Then do you look down on me in the Divine Hall? Of course not. Gao Shueting snorted coldly and said, Today, I said in front of Master Xiao and the others that you're a disciple of the Divine Hall. So I stopped Lu Qi's intention of recruiting you. If you dare to refuse me again, I'll tell them tomorrow that you've been expelled from the Divine Hall. You know what the consequences will be. Yang Kai suddenly broke out in a cold sweat. He really didn't know that Lu Qi wanted to rope him in. Thinking about it this way, his recent performance was too sharp, and he had probably attracted a lot of attention. If he didn't have the halo of being a disciple of the Azure Sun Temple, he would definitely be fought over by other masters. Yang Kai immediately understood that Gao Shueting gave him this identity token, not to force him to make a choice, but to protect him. She had carefully checked his physical condition before, obviously because she was worried that something would go wrong with his cultivation. Thinking of this, a touch of warmth emerged in his heart. Yang Kai suddenly felt that with such care from an elder, joining the Azure Sun Temple seemed to be a good choice. He breathed a sigh of relief, cupped his fists and said with a smile, Then this disciple will respectfully accept. Thank you for your kindness, elder. Gao Shueting looked him up and down a few times and nodded. You're worth teaching. After a pause, she continued, However, because of your special situation, you don't have to abide by the many rules of the temple. How you used to live will be how you will live in the future. The temple will not interfere with you. Do you understand? Understood. Yang Kai was overjoyed when he heard this. Of course, what you do in the future only concerns you, and does not represent the temple. If you dare to cause any trouble for the temple, you know what will happen. Gao Shueting's phoenix eyes were full of power as she coldly snorted. Understood, understood. Yang Kai nodded repeatedly, his face covered in cold sweat. I have nothing else to say. Now that you have taken the nameplate, you are also a disciple of the Divine Hall. Do you have any problems in cultivation? Since I am free now, I can answer them for you. Gao Shueting's expression changed as she asked in a pleasant manner. Yang Kai's expression became serious as he hurriedly asked some questions that he had encountered during his cultivation. Gao Shueting was very responsible and explained everything to him in detail. She didn't hide anything from him about her cultivation and comprehension of the heavenly way and martial Tao. Gao Shueting originally thought that it would be easy to guide a second-order Dao Source Realm cultivator in his cultivation. But as she talked with Yang Kai in depth, she had to put away her casual attitude, because the questions Yang Kai asked were all very important and profound, some of which even she couldn't figure out thoroughly. Gradually, this kind of consultation turned into a discussion between the two of them to verify their own martial Dao. Yang Kai didn't leave the city lord's mansion until dawn. After returning to the Qin family, he immediately looked for Qin Chaoyang and found a secret room to cultivate in seclusion. More than a month passed in the blink of an eye. On this day, Yang Kai came out of seclusion. His newly promoted second-order Dao Source Realm cultivation had completely stabilized. Inside the secret room, he checked his condition and was very satisfied with the progress he had made during this time. At this moment, he suddenly seemed to have noticed something, and his expression became strange. In the next moment, he hurriedly summoned the insect enslavement bracelet and sent his soul avatar into it to investigate. When he was still in Azure Sun Temple, Yang Kai asked Gao Shueting for a lot of faceless profound grass to feed the soul-devouring insects. During this time, the soul-devouring insects had been devouring themselves in that huge jar, multiplying and evolving. It was only today that they seemed to have made some substantial breakthroughs. The soul-devouring insects were ranked 11th on the exotic insect list's heaven list, a very high ranking. They played a huge role in the Divine Ascension Mirror world. And after going through the trials in the Divine Ascension Mirror, Yang Kai also had high hopes for the soul-devouring insects. Today, as soon as he noticed that they were moving, Yang Kai couldn't wait to investigate. It was quiet inside the jar, as if all the soul-devouring insects were sleeping. However, after Yang Kai refined the insect enslavement bracelet, he knew everything inside it like the back of his hand. So he naturally knew that this silence was just an illusion. He waited for a moment with a solemn expression, before he seemed to have made up his mind about something. He stretched out his hand and made a hand seal, opening the jar. Looking inside, Kai Yang saw that the inside of the urn was densely packed with milky white silkworm cocoons, covering the entire wall of the urn. Many of the white cocoons had holes in them, and evolved soul-devouring insects were constantly crawling out of them and swallowing the white cocoons whole. As time passed, more and more soul-devouring insects were born from the cocoons. For a time, the whole jar was filled with crackling sounds, as if tens of thousands of silkworms were eating. So big! Yang Kai was startled. Originally, soul-devouring insects could not be seen with the naked eye at all. They were extremely small insects, and only divine sense could find their traces. However, after this devouring and evolution, the soul-devouring insects had obviously become larger. Each of them was the size of a grain of rice, and their bodies were covered with some pitch-black veins. Among the black veins, there was an obvious demonic qi. Obviously, it was because they had devoured the ancient pure demonic qi before. Not only that, these soul-devouring insects seemed to be more ferocious than before, making Yang Kai's scalp tingle. In less than a quarter of an hour, these soul-devouring insects all broke out of their cocoons and devoured their own white cocoons. After getting enough nutrition, these soul-devouring insects flapped their wings and flew out of the jar. Yang Kai stepped back vigilantly and watched from a distance. He saw that above the jar, a cloud of insects had gathered. Although there were far fewer of them than the original soul-devouring insects, their aura and scale were far superior to the previous batch. Yang Kai was secretly shocked. He felt that if he had brought this batch of soul-devouring insects into the Divine Ascension world and encountered Ban Qing in the Emperor realm, he would not have needed to resort to any tricks. Just these soul-devouring insects would have been enough to make Ban Qing flee in a sorry state. He watched for a long time before giving a command to the cloud of soul-devouring insects. Chapter 2283. The swarm of soul-devouring insects that had been flying around suddenly rushed towards him, buzzing incessantly. Yang Kai stood in place with a serious expression on his face, ready to attack at any moment. A short while later, he was surrounded by the insect swarm. Immediately after, a soul-devouring insect landed on his body, shook its wings, and remained motionless, quietly crawling there. Then another large swathes of insect swarms descended, wrapping him up in 3 layers, completely obscuring his figure. However, all of the soul-devouring insects were silent and showed no intention of attacking Yang Kai. Instead, under an invisible connection, these soul-devouring insects obeyed Yang Kai's every command. Ha 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 ha. Yang Kai couldn't help but laugh out loud. He felt that the insect enslavement bracelet was truly a great treasure. Back in the Divine Ascension Mirror world, Yang Kai had felt that his batch of soul-devouring insects was no longer under his control. Later on, he had obtained another batch of soul-devouring insects from Tianyan, but they had no connection to him at all. Now, however, these evolved soul-devouring insects were obediently following his orders, as if they were part of his body. The biggest credit naturally went to the insect enslavement bracelet. This Emperor artifact didn't have any offensive or defensive abilities, but it could restrain all exotic insects in the world. It was the life work of the Insect Emperor, so it was very effective against the soul-devouring insects. With this, Yang Kai no longer had to worry about the insect enslavement bracelet. If he ever encountered a powerful enemy in the future, the soul-devouring insects would become one of his trump cards. After testing it out, Yang Kai was very satisfied. With a thought, he ordered the soul-devouring insects to return to the large jar and recuperate. The space inside the insect enslavement bracelet seemed to have a subtle effect on the survival of the exotic insects. Not only would the exotic insects that stayed here not die or weaken, instead they would become stronger and stronger. Of course, if he wanted the soul-devouring insects to grow faster, Yang Kai would need to find more facetless profound grass to feed them. Facetless profound grass wasn't an extremely rare spirit grass. Many large sects could cultivate it themselves, so it wasn't difficult to find. However, Yang Kai needed a large amount of it, so it would definitely cost him a lot. In the past, Yang Kai might not have been able to afford it, but now that he had a source crystal mine, he wouldn't have to worry about source crystals for a short period of time. Naturally, he could purchase them without restraint. Yang Kai opened his eyes, stood up, and opened his secret room to go to the city to buy some facetless profound grass. This made him even more surprised, because Lu Qi had used the Emperor artifact, the duality record, to form a seal that suppressed the spirit lake. Logically speaking, as time passed, the world energy in Maplewood City would become thinner and thinner, gradually returning to its previous state. At this moment, a beautiful figure flew over from nearby and appeared in front of him. It was Yi Jinghan. "Young Master Yang, you've come out of seclusion." Yi Jinghan sized up Yang Kai and discovered that his aura was steady. She restrained her gaze and couldn't help but say enviously, "Young Master Yang, you seem to have gained a lot this time." "It's just so." Yang Kai grinned. Since he had already decided to follow Yi Jinghan to Thousand Leaves sect, he didn't reject her as much. His expression changed and Yang Kai asked in surprise, "You won't be staying here all the time, will you?" Yi Jinghan smiled embarrassedly. "I don't have anything else to do here." Yang Kai said, "Don't worry. Since I've already promised you, I won't run away. I'll definitely follow you to Thousand Leaves sect." "I don't want to keep an eye on young Master Yang." Yi Jinghan quickly waved her hands and said in a flustered tone, I'm just. Even after speaking for a long time, she still couldn't come up with a reason and couldn't help but panic. She was afraid that she would infuriate Yang Kai. Yang Kai smiled and said, "Forget it, accompany me to buy some things. We'll set off once we're done." Yi Jinghan's face lit up and she quickly nodded. Okay. The two of them immediately rushed into the city. As they walked, Yang Kai discovered that the cultivator in Maplewood City was sparse, and it wasn't as lively as it used to be. However, every cultivator on the streets had a happy expression on their faces, as if they had struck a stroke of great luck. He couldn't help but find this strange and asked, "These people are all smiling like flowers. Did something good happen to them?" Yi Jinghan pursed her lips and smiled. Maplewood City is different from before. The world energy here is at least 3 to 5 times denser than before, so they're naturally happy. By the way, I was just about to ask you about this. Yang Kai turned his head and looked at her. What's with this world energy? Why did it become denser? Yi Jinghan said. Young Master Yang has been in seclusion for the past month, so you naturally don't know about the changes in Maplewood City. It's like this. A month ago, a few master led by Star Soul Palace's Master Shao discussed for a few days and decided to transform the Spirit Lake into a cultivation holy land. So they transferred people from their respective sects. 10 days ago, the transformation was completed and the Spirit Lake has become a famous cultivation holy land in the entire Southern Territory. Countless cultivators have flocked to it, and many people in Maplewood City have also gone to watch the show, so the city is deserted. After listening to her explanation, Yang Kai finally understood why there were so few people in Maplewood City. It seemed that they had all gone to the Spirit Lake to watch the show. That place was named Spirit Lake Palace by Xiao Yu Yang and the other masters. It occupies a large area, and many secret rooms have been built for cultivators to cultivate in seclusion. Spirit Lake Palace? Yang Kai raised his eyebrows. Yi Jinghan smiled. That's right. Yang Kai said thoughtfully. Then this Spirit Lake Palace. Who is in charge of it? Who owns it? Yi Jinghan said. None of the great sects have any intention of occupying it. The Spirit Lake Palace is managed by Star Soul Palace, and all the great sects have joined forces with Maplewood City to manage it. It is open to the entire Southern Territory, and anyone who has enough source crystals can enter it to cultivate. Oh, Yang Kai was surprised. Maplewood City also has a role in managing it. Of course, the Spirit Lake Palace is right next to Maplewood City, so it's best for Maplewood City to manage it. This time, Maplewood City will amaze the world with a single brilliant feat. Yang Kai chuckled. I can already imagine City Lord Duan's happy expression. Pursing her lips, Yi Jinghan replied with a smile. Indeed. Although City Lord Duan's cultivation is still at the third-order Dao Source realm, with the Spirit Lake Palace, his status has already soared. I'm afraid that he'll be able to stand on equal footing with the sect masters of those first-rate sects. His status isn't low, but his cultivation isn't high enough, so it'll be difficult for him to convince the masses. Yang Kai furrowed his brows and felt a little worried for Duan Yuanshan. Yi Jinghan glanced at him and said, Young Master Yang, you don't have to worry about this. Master Shao has already made the decision to accept City Lord Duan and Vice City Lord Drunkard as outer disciples of Star Soul Palace. Moreover, these two city lords have also taken up some positions in Azure Sun Temple, Heavenly Martial Holy Land, and other top forces. Yang Kai was dumbfounded when he heard this. How is that possible? Yi Jinghan covered her red lips with her hand and giggled. I'm afraid they have no choice. Master Shao is indeed wise. Yang Kai shook his head and smiled bitterly. Although I've never heard of this matter before, I'm afraid that no one will dare to look down on City Lord Duan and Elder Jiao, nor will they dare to disobey their authority. Although Duan Yuanshan and Elder Jiao's cultivation wasn't high, they had the backing of several top sects in the Southern Territory, so it wasn't difficult for them to manage Maplewood City and the Spirit Lake Palace. If anyone dared to disobey their orders, it would be tantamount to making an enemy out of all the top forces in the Southern Territory. So, who would dare to do such a thing? Master Shao is really bold. Star Soul Palace is really worthy of being the overlord of the Southern Territory. Their bearing is really extraordinary, Yang Kai said sincerely. In all honesty, if Star Soul Palace really wanted to occupy the Spirit Lake Palace, no one would dare to resist. After all, the Bright Moon Great Emperors were in charge of Star Soul Palace, so the other top forces wouldn't be able to contend against them. However, Star Soul Palace didn't do such a thing. Instead, they took the lead and led many great forces to turn Star Soul Palace into a cultivation holy land open to the entire Southern Territory. From this, one could see the magnanimity of this overlord sect. Not every sect could do such a thing, even if it was Azure Sun Temple's Wen Zishan. If such a cultivation holy land fell into his hands, Yang Kai believed that he would secretly hide it and use it as a cultivation place for Azure Sun Temple's disciples. It was human nature for people to have differences between those who were close and those who were distant. No one would think for others for no reason. Continue, Yang Kai said. The Spirit Lake Palace imitated Star Soul Palace's classification of cultivation holy lands, and it is also divided into 3 grades: heaven, earth, and human. The human-grade cultivation holy land is open to cultivators below the origin returning realm, while the earth-grade cultivation holy land is open to cultivators below the Tao source realm. As for the top heaven-grade cultivation holy land, it is only open to masters in the emperor realm. Speaking of this, a look of yearning appeared on Yi Jinghan's face, as if she was looking forward to the supreme the emperor realm. The higher the grade, the more source crystals one needs to pay to enter. It is said that one needs to pay 1,000 high-rank source crystals for a day and a night in the top heaven-grade cultivation holy land. Moreover, only high-rank source crystals are allowed to be paid, and they cannot be converted into mid-rank or low-rank source crystals. This price is really terrifying, Yang Kai sighed. 1,000 high-rank source crystals was equivalent to 100,000 mid-rank source crystals, or 10 million low-rank source crystals. This was just a day and a night's payment, but which cultivator didn't go into seclusion for 10 days to half a month? If one wanted to comprehend a secret technique or secret art, it was common for them to spend a year or so. Especially when the masters in the emperor realm went into seclusion, they could spend years, or even decades in seclusion. The source crystals required to pay for this was incalculable. Moreover, they were only allowed to pay high-rank source crystals, and the conditions were extremely harsh. However, most of the masters in the emperor realm are rich, and if they really want to reach a higher level in the martial Tao, they may not care about these worldly possessions, Yang Kai said thoughtfully. I heard that the 2 major chambers of commerce are going to set up branches here. Yang Kai smiled and said, where there's money to be made, how can the 2 major chambers of commerce not be here? While talking, the 2 arrived at the Spirit Pill Plaza. The Spirit Pill Plaza was still the same as before. It was a small shop with only a few people buying things in the store. Only the waiter was there to greet customers. There was no sign of the shopkeeper. Since Kong Si Ran was transferred, Yang Kai hadn't come to the Spirit Pill Plaza. Now that he was here again, he couldn't help but sigh. When he first came to Maplewood City, he made some connections with the Spirit Pill Plaza. You're Grandmaster Yang. A cry of surprise suddenly reached Yang Kai's ears, waking him up from his memories. Yang Kai raised his head and saw the waiter looking at him excitedly. How have you been, brother waiter? Yang Kai greeted him with a smile. When he was refining pills in the Spirit Pill Plaza, he had come in contact with this waiter many times, so he wasn't unfamiliar with him, but he didn't know his name. Good. The waiter was so excited that he spoke incoherently, as if he was flattered. Thank you for your concern, Grandmaster. After saying this, he ran inside in a hurry, shouting as he ran, Grandmaster Yang is back. Shopkeeper, Grandmaster Yang is back. What does he mean? Yi Jinghan looked at Yang Kai blankly. She didn't know what was wrong with this waiter. Yang Kai said, I refined pills in the Spirit Pill Plaza for several months. I see. Let's go in. Yang Kai nodded. He noticed that after the waiter's shout, several customers who were shopping for pills in the store were looking at him with strange gazes. So he called out to Yi Jinghan and walked straight into the store. Walking through the lobby, before he even entered, he was met with a fat man in luxurious clothes. This fat man looked to be in his 40s, with a big belly that stuck out like an old man. He looked very stout. He was obviously the new shopkeeper of the Spirit Pill Plaza. Just like Kong Si Ran, he was only a third-order origin king. The fat man wiped the sweat on his forehead and asked anxiously, Where is Grandmaster Yang? As soon as he said this, he raised his head and saw Yang Kai. So he quickly cupped his fists and said, Spirit Pill Plaza's Zhou Fu greets Grandmaster Yang. Please forgive me for not coming out to meet you. Yang Kai cupped his fists in return and said with a smile, This Yang came uninvited. Shopkeeper Zhou is too polite. The 2 of them had just exchanged a few words when 2 men rushed out from the back and shouted anxiously, Who is Grandmaster Yang? Who is Grandmaster Yang? One of them looked around and fixed his gaze on Yang Kai, shouting in a low voice, Are you Grandmaster Yang? Yang Kai glanced at him and found that this man had disheveled hair, sunken eyes and bloodshot eyes. It seemed like he hadn't rested for a long time. It wasn't just this man. The other man next to him was also like this. Moreover, Yang Kai smelled a faint medicinal fragrance coming from these two men. Yang Kai immediately understood what they were doing, and said with a faint smile, "This Yang doesn't deserve to be called Grandmaster." When the two men heard this, their eyes lit up, and they stared at Yang Kai with burning gazes. They cupped their fists and said, "Greetings, Grandmaster Yang. You are too polite." Yang Kai smiled faintly and turned to Zhou Fu. "Shopkeeper, can we talk inside?" He gestured to the surroundings, and saw that the customers who were shopping in the store were looking at them blankly. They were all trying to guess which Master Yang Kai was, and why he was being treated so respectfully by the shopkeeper of the Spirit Pill Plaza. Zhou Fu said awkwardly, "This Zhou was negligent. Grandmaster Yang, this way please." "Grandmaster Yang, please." The two guys who came later also hurriedly separated to the sides, looking very respectful. "Bring me tea. Bring me the best tea," Zhou Fu said and kicked the waiter who was watching the scene. The waiter hurriedly left. Not long after, Yang Kai sat down in a secret room in the back hall, with Yi Jinghan standing behind him like a bodyguard. Zhou Fu and the others also stood beside him. "You should also sit." Yang Kai gestured with his hand. No, we don't have the qualifications to sit in front of Grandmaster Yang. We can just stand." Zhou Fu hurriedly waved his hand. Yes. Kneeling is also fine." The two men who were up to no good spoke one after another, causing Yi Jinghan to chuckle. She didn't know why Yang Kai had such a high status in this place. Yang Kai didn't force them and just asked, "Has there been any news from Shopkeeper Kong?" Zhou Fu's expression turned solemn as he said, "Shopkeeper Kong has sent me many messages asking about Grandmaster Yang's current situation. I'm ashamed that I haven't been able to meet Grandmaster Yang, and I haven't been able to get any information about him. Fortunately, news about the Four Seasons realm spread recently, so I was able to answer for it." Zhou Fu smiled bitterly as he spoke. Yang Kai said, "Shopkeeper Kong is really considerate. How is he now?" Zhou Fu said, "Shopkeeper Kong is doing well, and I heard that he will be returning to Maplewood City soon." Yang Kai's expression changed and he asked, "Is it because of the branch?" Zhou Fu said, "Grandmaster Yang is really well informed. It's precisely because of the branch that Violet Source Chamber of Commerce decided to set up a branch in Maplewood City. Shopkeeper Kong has been operating here for many years and has a wide network of connections. With him overseeing this place, all kinds of matters can proceed smoothly." Yang Kai said with a smile, "Brother Kong, the bitterness is over and the sweetness is beginning. In the past, Maplewood City wasn't good enough, so Kong Siran was transferred away after he broke through to the Dao Source realm. But now Maplewood City had the foundation and qualifications to evolve into a great city in just a few years. Violet Source Chamber of Commerce had transferred Kong Siran back because they trusted his ability and believed that Kong Siran would be able to profit greatly and his status would soar. As a matter of fact, this was indeed the case. Kong Siran had been here for many years and had a close relationship with the City Lord's mansion and the patriarchs of the various great families. Kong Siran was the best candidate to manage the Maplewood City branch. After chatting for a while, Yang Kai changed the topic and said, "Shopkeeper Zhou, I came to Spirit Pill Plaza this time because I have something I need your help with." Zhou Fu's face flushed and he quickly said, "Grandmaster Yang, just tell me what you need. This Zhou will go through water and tread on fire without hesitation." It's not that serious." Yang Kai smiled and waved his hand. "I just want to buy something. Faceless profound grass. Shopkeeper Zhou should know about it, right?" "Faceless profound grass?" Zhou Fu raised his brow and said, "This Zhou naturally knows about it. Spirit Pill Plaza still has some in stock. If Grandmaster Yang wants it, this Zhou can give it to you." Yang Kai shook his head and said, "I'm afraid that the stock in Spirit Pill Plaza is not enough." Zhou Fu asked, "Grandmaster Yang wants a lot?" "The more the better." Zhou Fu said, "Then this Zhou will send someone to collect it in the city. Grandmaster Yang will not be disappointed." "Thank you, Shopkeeper Zhou." Yang Kai cupped his fists and said. Zhou Fu smiled and said, Grandmaster Yang is too polite. You saved Spirit Pill Plaza in the past, so you can be considered half a member of Spirit Pill Plaza. How can this Zhou not fulfill such a small request? Chapter 2285. Zhou Fu quickly left to deal with the matter of the facetless profound grass. In fact, Yang Kai could have bought the spirit grass himself, but it would have wasted a lot of time and energy, so it was different if he asked Zhou Fu for help. The shopkeepers of these shops were in constant contact with each other, so if they needed any materials, they would be able to arrange it for him. It was much more efficient than Yang Kai doing it himself. After Zhou Fu left, the two unkempt men asked excitedly, Grandmaster Yang, do you want the facetless profound grass for alchemy? Yang Kai smiled faintly and said, You can say that. Judging from your appearances, you should be alchemists as well, right? Yes, it's an honor to be able to travel with Grandmaster Yang. One of them replied with a flattering smile. The other man said, Grandmaster Yang, we have admired you for a long time, but unfortunately, we never had the chance to meet you. We didn't expect that we would have such an opportunity today. We are truly fortunate. These two fellows seemed to have oiled their mouths, and were speaking one after the other in a humble and respectful manner, almost worshipping Yang Kai. Yi Jinghan was dumbfounded by this scene, and felt as if her worldview had been destroyed. She could hardly believe her eyes. In the world she knew, all alchemists were arrogant and proud, so when had she ever seen an alchemist fawning so much? But after thinking about it, she felt that only an even more powerful alchemist could subdue an alchemist. Yang Kai had even refined the extraordinary treasure pill, which was almost lost in history, so it was natural for these two Origin King great alchemists to be so respectful towards him. The two of them were still trying to flatter Kai Yang, as if there was no end to it, praising Kai Yang, as if he was unparalleled in this world. Yang Kai coughed dryly. He said, Do the two of you have something that you need Yang Kai to explain? This Yang happens to have some free time right now. Hearing him say so, the two men glanced at each other, and saw the excitement in each other's eyes. One of them said, Grandmaster Yang, it's like this. It is said that when you were refining source condensing pills in Spirit Pill Plaza, you were loved and praised by many customers, but since the two of us took over this place, Grandmaster Yang's reputation has improved greatly. The source condensing pills refined by Grandmaster Yang always feel like they lack a little bit of foundation, and many customers are very dissatisfied, causing the flow of customers to decrease a lot for no reason. The two of us were thinking, if Grandmaster Yang has time, can you give us a brief introduction to your alchemy experience? Yang Kai asked. The Spirit Pill Plaza's source condensing pill recipe was improved by Grandmaster Huangpu, right? That's right. Grandmaster Huangpu is an emperor-grade alchemist, the pillar of our Violet Source Chamber of Commerce. Since the pill formula came from Master Huangpu, there's definitely no problem. I believe there are some flaws in your refining process. Just relying on words alone might not work. How about this? You refine a batch of source condensing pills now, and I'll observe from the side, Yang Kai asked. Upon hearing this, the two of them were shaken. They knew that Yang Kai wanted to give them guidance on the spot, and they immediately understood that this was a heaven-sent opportunity. This was a good opportunity that others couldn't even ask for. So, how could they refuse? Immediately, they said in unison, We dare not disobey Grandmaster Yang's orders. Please, Grandmaster. Yang Kai nodded and got up, leading the two of them to the underground alchemy room with ease. Yi Jinghan also followed closely behind them out of curiosity. Even though she was a second-order Dao Source Realm cultivator, she had never seen anyone perform alchemy in her life, so she was very interested in this. Not long after, they arrived at the underground alchemy room, which was filled with heat. There was a spirit array that guided the earth fire for alchemy. Yang Kai had stayed here for a few months, so he was very familiar with this place. He asked the two of them to take out a set of materials each and start refining, while Yang Kai stood in front of them and observed them carefully. With his current level of alchemy, It wasn't a problem for him to guide 2 Origin King grade high-rank alchemists. Refining techniques, carving spirit arrays, controlling the fire, and other small details would often become the foundation that would affect the quality of a spirit pill. Yang Kai would give his advice from time to time, and the 2 alchemists would listen to his advice modestly. Half a day passed in the blink of an eye, and the 2 of them opened their respective furnaces. Each of them managed to refine 5 or 6 pills of good quality, which made them overjoyed and grateful to Yang Kai. At this moment, Zhou Fu also sent a message, saying that he had brought the facetless profound grass. Yang Kai asked the 2 of them to stay behind and reflect on the gains and losses of this alchemy before he returned to the back hall. Zhou Fu was waiting in the back room, and when he saw Yang Kai, he quickly took out a space ring and said, "This Zhou didn't disappoint you. There are 2,000 facetless profound grass here. Please accept them, Grandmaster Yang." Yang Kai raised his brow and said with a nod, "Shopkeeper Zhou is quite efficient." 2,000 facetless profound grass was enough for him to use for a long time. Yet Zhou Fu had only spent half a day to gather them. It was obvious that he had put in a lot of effort. If Yang Kai had gone to buy them himself, he wouldn't have been able to buy so many in half a day. The price? Yang Kai picked up the space ring and raised his head to ask. Zhou Fu said, "These facetless profound grass aren't worth anything. Just take it as a small token of appreciation from this Zhou. I hope Grandmaster won't refuse it." Yang Kai said with a smile, "You don't have to do this, Shopkeeper Zhou." Saying so, Yang Kai suddenly waved his hand, and a small mountain of source crystals appeared on the table. Before Zhou Fu could say anything, Yang Kai's figure flickered and disappeared from the back room, along with Yi Jinghan. Only a voice reached Zhou Fu's ears. "If Shopkeeper Kong returns to Maplewood City one day, please pass on my message to him. When we meet again in the future, we'll drink to our heart's content." Zhou Fu was startled, and he looked at the source crystals on the table and smiled bitterly. Yang Kai and Yi Jinghan's figures suddenly appeared on a street in the city. As soon as Yi Jinghan appeared, she staggered and almost fell to the ground. Her face was pale and she looked at Yang Kai in shock and asked, "Young Master Yang, is this the space divine technique? Are you all right?" Yang Kai didn't answer her question and asked her a question instead. "This is the first time I've experienced such a teleportation, so I can clearly feel the void turbulence around me. I'm still a little scared," Yi Jinghan replied. Yang Kai said with a smile, "Then you're all right." Saying so, he took out a communication artifact and sent a message into it. "Young Master Yang, what are you doing?" Yi Jinghan asked. "Oh, I'm about to leave. I'll leave a message for the Qin family's patriarch." "Young Master Yang, aren't you going to say goodbye to him in person?" Yi Jinghan looked at him strangely. Yang Kai said, "It's fine to say goodbye to him in person. It's not like I'm not coming back. Besides, the Qin family's patriarch should be very busy right now. Didn't you say that the patriarchs of Maplewood City's great families are following City Lord Duan to manage the Spirit Lake Palace?" Yi Jinghan said, "The Qin family's patriarch is fine, but Miss Qin, what happened to Qin Yu?" Yang Kai turned his head and glanced at her. "When I came out of seclusion, I secretly checked Qin Yu's aura. I found that she's in good condition. Her vitality is stable, and her vitality is abundant." Yi Jinghan pursed her lips and smiled. "Young Master Yang, you've been in seclusion for a month and Miss Qin has been waiting outside your door for 2 hours every day. She probably has something to say to you. Young Master Yang, don't you want to give her a chance?" Yang Kai glanced at her and curled his lips. "You women are so gossipy." While speaking, he left a message for Qin Chaoyang on the communication artifact, telling him that he would be leaving Maplewood City for a while. If he had the chance, he would definitely come back. The Qin family's myriad sword was in his hands, and he had also made an agreement with Qin Chaoyang that he would return the myriad's sword to the Qin family when Qin Yu broke through to the Emperor realm. With this connection, his connection with the Qin family could not be severed. However, he did not know when Qin Yu would be able to break through to the Emperor realm. Would there be such an opportunity? Next, he took out the identity token of Azure Sun Temple's disciple and prepared to inform Gao Shueting about his departure. This identity token could not only be used to verify one's identity, but it could also be used as a communication artifact. As long as there were people from Azure Sun Temple nearby, they could contact each other through their respective tokens. This is. Yi Jinghan's beautiful eyes suddenly narrowed as she looked at the golden token, a thoughtful look flashing through her eyes. When she saw the words Azure Sun on the front of the token, her delicate body shook and she cried out involuntarily, "Azure Sun Golden Token." Yang Kai glanced at her in astonishment. He did not know why her reaction was so big. Young Master Yang is actually an elite disciple of Azure Sun Temple. This mistress has been rude. Yi Jinghan smiled bitterly, and a hint of envy appeared on her face. Elite disciple of Inner Temple? Yang Kai raised his eyebrows. How did you know? Yi Jinghan looked at Yang Kai with a strange expression and said, Young Master Yang, since you are an elite disciple of Azure Sun Temple, don't you know the classification of disciples? The corners of Yang Kai's mouth twitched, and he said embarrassedly, I'm just a disciple of Azure Sun Temple in name. I'm not a true disciple of Azure Sun Temple. Then this gold token. Cold sweat dripped down Yi Jinghan's forehead, as she felt the world spinning around her. Her whole body shivered violently. Could Yang Kai have snatched this gold token from someone? If that's the case, bringing this person to Thousand Leaves sect will definitely bring disaster to the sect. Elder Gao forced it on me, Yang Kai said bitterly. Forced it on you? Yi Jinghan almost fainted. There were so many talented youths in the Southern Territory who could not obtain a mere Azure Sun disciple token, but when it came to Yang Kai, he said that Elder Gao had forced it on him, as if he was reluctant to accept it. Yi Jinghan felt unwell, and she did not know whether it was because she had just teleported, but she felt dizzy. Why is your face so pale? Didn't you eat something this morning? Yang Kai glanced at her and asked. Young Master Yang. Yi Jinghan looked at Yang Kai with a pleading look. Please don't joke around. This mistress is timid, so please don't scare me. What are you talking about? Young Master Yang, do you really not know about this Azure Sun Golden Token? Yang Kai said seriously. I got it less than a month ago and I've been in seclusion all this time. What's so special about this token? Yi Jinghan took a deep breath, and her plump breasts heaved up and down violently, almost tearing her clothes apart. Yang Kai kept staring at her, but she calmed down and said, Azure Sun Temple's disciple tokens have the same shape, but they are divided into 3 grades, gold, silver, and bronze. In the temple, only the top few inner disciples are qualified to possess an Azure Sun Golden Token. Once a golden token is issued, no one dares to disobey it. This golden token represents a status equal to that of an ordinary elder in the temple. When you go to Azure Sun Temple's properties in the Southern Territory, you can also mobilize the personnel and resources of those properties. Chapter 2286. Is there such a thing? Yang Kai was stunned after hearing this. He didn't know that the identity tokens of Azure Sun Temple's disciples were divided into different grades. It seemed that the Azure Sun Golden Token given to him by Gao Shueting was really extraordinary. It could be seen that she trusted him greatly. Young Master Yang, you don't know anything about this. Yi Jinghan smiled bitterly. It's just a token. Yang Kai replied casually before he poured his divine sense into the token to inform Gao Shueting. Then he put it away and said, Let's go. Yi Jinghan put away the complicated expression on her face and became slightly excited, nodding. Okay. As soon as she finished speaking, Yang Kai wrapped her up and teleported to somewhere outside the city. After that, Yang Kai summoned his wooden boat artifact and stepped on it, waving to Yi Jinghan. After she flew up and stood firmly, he formed a seal with one hand and flew away at lightning speed. The wooden boat wasn't big, but there was no problem for 2 people to stand on it. Moreover, it was a Dao Source grade high-rank flight-type artifact, and was only 1 step away from becoming an Emperor artifact, so its speed was extremely fast. Before this, Yang Kai didn't know where he had heard of Thousand Leaves sect, and didn't know much about it. While they were on their way, Yang Kai asked Yi Jinghan about Thousand Leaves sect's current situation. According to Yi Jinghan, Thousand Leaves sect was a great sect in the Southern Territory a long time ago. Although it couldn't be compared with first-rate sects like Azure Sun Temple and Heavenly Martial Holy Land, it wasn't far behind. However, after the entrance to the sealed world was closed, the sect couldn't get abundant world energy, and many of its divine secret techniques were lost. All of a sudden the sect declined. As time passed, their influence grew weaker and weaker, and by the time of Yi Jinghan's father Yi Hen's generation, the sect had become even weaker. In the entire sect, only Yi Hen was a third-order Tao Source Realm cultivator, which was even worse than the Blue Feather sect. Blue Feather sect didn't have the Emperor Realm either. However, when Yang Kai went there were at least 4 third-order Tao Source Realm powerhouses. The last time the Four Seasons Realm opened, Blue Feather sect had 2 spots to enter, while Thousand Leaves sect had none. It was obvious that there was still a gap between the 2 sections. The Thousand Leaves sect was located in Jiang Province's Thousand Leaves mountain range in the Southern Territory, and was about half a month's journey away from Maplewood City. Maplewood City originally had a space array that led directly to Jiang State City, but since the demonic Qi besieged the city last time, and Drunkard destroyed the space array, it had not been repaired. After all, Maplewood City was too small. Duan Yuan Shan and the others' words carried little weight, so they were unable to invite a suitable array grandmaster to repair the space array. But now there was no need to worry about this problem. After the matter with the Spirit Lake Palace was settled, Xiao Yuyang and the others would definitely ask their sex array masters to repair the spirit array. In the future, Maplewood City would become one of the largest cities in the entire Southern Territory. The space array would definitely be able to connect all the cities in the Southern Territory. Yang Kai guessed. It would be easy for him to return to Maplewood City next time. All he had to do was find a city that wasn't too small, and use the space array to directly teleport to it. Along the way, Yang Kai chatted with Yi Jinghan. It was only now that he learned that Thousand Leaves sect was a sect that focused on refining puppets. Most of its disciples cultivated the art of puppetry, which was quite amazing. It was the first time that Yang Kai had encountered such a sect in the star boundary. There were 3,000 great Daos, each of which led to the Emperor Realm. It wasn't that the art of puppetry wasn't strong, but it was because of the harsh conditions required to cultivate it. Refining puppets was also extremely complicated, so very few people were able to achieve great results in the Southern Territory. But if one cultivated the art of puppetry to the pinnacle, it would become an extremely powerful technique. Since your Thousand Leaves sect focuses on cultivating puppets, why haven't I seen you use them before? Yang Kai asked in confusion. Yi Jinghan hadn't even used her puppets when they were in danger at the bottom of the 18 Spirit Springs. When she heard Yang Kai's question, a trace of bashfulness appeared on Yi Jinghan's face, and she said bashfully, "I'm not afraid that young Master Yang will laugh at me if I tell you this. My Thousand Leaves sect was originally famous for its art of puppetry, but ever since the previous sect master brought many ancient books and secret techniques into the sealed world, some of the sect's techniques for refining puppets were lost. Now the puppets that our Thousand Leaves sect can refine aren't of much use." Saying so, she pursed her red lips and formed a series of hand seals, causing a small blue bird to suddenly appear in her palm. When Yang Kai looked at it, he found that the bird was extremely lifelike, just like a living creature. Even the feathers on its body were clearly layered and had natural colors. But after inspecting it with his divine sense, Yang Kai found that this bird wasn't made of flesh and blood, but was instead a puppet refined from various materials. A look of amazement appeared on Yang Kai's face. He felt that if he didn't use his divine sense to examine this bird carefully, he wouldn't be able to tell whether it was a living creature or not. Yi Jinghan formed another series of hand seals and stretched out her slender finger, pointing it at the bird. In the next instant, the blue bird's body lit up, and it flapped its wings a few times, tilted its head, and flew up into the air, circling around Yi Jinghan. Not only that, but it also let out bird cries that could be mistaken for a real bird. Yang Kai couldn't help but gasp in amazement at this sight, and he couldn't help but nod his head in praise. Your sex art of puppetry is really outstanding. Yi Jinghan's face flushed and she said, Young Master Yang, you flatter me. Our sex art of puppetry can only be used to refine puppets that can be used to scout out the enemy's situation. But it won't be of any use in a real battle. It's because of this, some of the sex elders have already started cultivating other cultivation arts and secret techniques, so they don't think that the art of puppetry is of any use. Yang Kai sneered. That's because they're short-sighted. Yi Jinghan's beautiful eyes lit up. Does young Master Yang also think that the art of puppetry is pretty good? Yang Kai said solemnly, although I haven't studied this art yet, I know that powerful puppets can't be underestimated. It's rumored that in the star boundary, there are some puppets that even the Emperor realm has to avoid. Yi Jinghan smiled bitterly upon hearing this. I don't want to be able to refine such puppets, but I don't want the Thousand Leaves sect's inheritance to decline. It's a pity that the most important part of refining puppets is the heart of spirit energy. Our Thousand Leaves sect doesn't have a method to refine high-grade heart of spirit energy. If we did, we would definitely be able to regain our former glory. Heart of spirit energy? Yang Kai raised his brows and suddenly thought of something. He stretched out his hand and made a grabbing motion in the air, taking out a few egg-sized crystals that emitted a strange light. Before he could say anything, Yi Jinghan cried out involuntarily, Heart of spirit energy. Young Master Yang, how did you get a heart of spirit energy? I obtained it in the Four Seasons realm, Yang Kai replied. When they were in the Flowing Time Temple, the first obstacle they encountered was countless puppets. The heart of spirit energy in Yang Kai's hand was obtained after defeating those puppets. There weren't many of them, only a few. The Four Seasons realm. Yi Jinghan's face turned gloomy upon hearing this, but she soon became excited again. Young Master Yang, can I take a look at this heart of spirit energy? Yang Kai cast a glance at her and casually tossed one to her. Yi Jinghan caught it happily and started playing with it carefully, like a child who had just gotten a new toy. Her face was filled with joy. The spirit array on this heart of spirit energy seems to be an ancient artifact. Some of the spirit inscriptions and spirit veins have been lost for a long time. Moreover, the grade of this heart of spirit energy isn't low. If I'm not mistaken, it should have come from a Dao source grade puppet, right? Yang Kai nodded and said, That's right. You were able to recognize it. Yi Jinghan said, Young Master Yang, you must be joking. This mistress has been exposed to the Tao of puppetry since she was a child, and has done some research on it. If I had this heart of spirit energy, this mistress would be able to refine a Tao source grade puppet. As she spoke, she clenched the heart of spirit energy in her hand and looked at Yang Kai eagerly. Young Master Yang, this mistress has a presumptuous request. Since it's a presumptuous request, then don't ask for it. Yang Kai didn't need her to open her mouth to know what she wanted to say. He stretched out his hand and took back the heart of spirit energy, grinning as he said, I only have a few of these things, so I want to keep them. Young Master Yang. A bitter look appeared on Yi Jinghan's face, as if Yang Kai had abandoned her. Can't you just sell one to me? It's useless to you anyway. She was currently just a second-order Dao Source Realm cultivator, which was the same as Yang Kai's. If she could refine a Dao Source grade puppet, her strength would definitely soar. For a cultivator who had been exposed to the Dao of puppetry since she was a child, and was obsessed with it, this was no different from a blessing from the heavens. Not only that, but she could also use this heart of spirit energy to study its internal structure. Perhaps she would be able to discover some profound principles and replicate it in large quantities. If she could really do that, the strength of Thousand Leaves sect would definitely increase by several folds. Young Master Yang, please sell one to me. This mistress is begging you. Seeing that her pleas were fruitless, Yi Jinghan stretched out her hand and grabbed Yang Kai's arm, shaking it continuously, as if she was acting coquettishly. The corners of Yang Kai's mouth curled up, revealing a wicked smile as he said, Miss Yi, is it really appropriate for you to touch me like this in the middle of nowhere? Yi Jinghan's pretty face flushed when she heard this, as if she had realized that something was wrong. She let go of his arm as if she had been electrocuted and asked in a sad voice, "Young Master Yang, what will it take for you to sell one to me?" "I won't sell it for the time being," Yang Kai replied. "For the time being?" Yi Jinghan raised her eyebrows when she heard this. She could sense the hidden meaning in Yang Kai's words and her beautiful eyes lit up. "Then when will you sell it?" Yang Kai grinned meaningfully. "That will depend on the situation. I might never sell it, but I might sell it when the opportunity arises." "You!" Yi Jinghan stamped her feet in anger, but she couldn't do anything to Yang Kai. Just as she finished speaking, Yang Kai's expression suddenly froze and his body came to a halt. Yi Jinghan was standing behind Yang Kai on the wooden boat and had almost bumped into his back due to a moment of carelessness. Fortunately, she reacted quickly and circulated her source qi, stabilizing her body on the spot. She then shouted angrily, "Young Master Yang, what are you doing?" Yang Kai, however, did not respond to her and instead just stared around coldly, a sneer of ridicule on his face. "What's wrong?" Yi Jinghan couldn't help but ask when she saw his expression. For some reason, she suddenly felt a chill run down her spine, as if something dangerous was staring at her. Chapter 2287. Silence reigned in the wilderness as a gentle breeze blew past, stirring up an austere atmosphere. Yi Jinghan felt that something was amiss, but she couldn't pinpoint exactly what it was. She could only wrap her clothes tighter around her body, with a nervous look on her face. "Will you show yourselves obediently, or do you want this young master to drag you out?" Yang Kai suddenly sneered and shouted into the void. "What? There's someone here?" Yi Jinghan was startled when she heard this. Only now did she understand why she was so nervous. She cried out in alarm, "What's going on? We're being watched." Yang Kai wore a calm look on his face and didn't show the slightest hint of nervousness. After waiting for a while and not receiving any response, he sneered, "It seems that you're quite confident in your concealment techniques. Do you think that this young master is trying to trick you?" After uttering the last word, his figure suddenly turned blurry, and in the next instant, he appeared 300 meters away. He formed a palm with one hand and slammed it into the void. Starry clouds swirled around his palm, and his strength dissipated. Kong. At the same time, there was an explosion, accompanied by a cry of surprise, and a figure fell out of the void. He retreated more than 100 feet before he could stabilize himself. Yang Kai returned to his wooden boat after his attack and clasped his hands behind his back. He said calmly, "Come out, all of you. Don't waste this young master's time. I don't want to drag you out one by one. We're not kids anymore, so is there a need for this?" After he finished speaking, in less than 3 breaths of time, 2 more figures suddenly appeared in the sky, including the one who had been knocked out by Yang Kai. There were 3 people in total. Yi Jinghan was dumbfounded by this sight. If not for Yang Kai's warning, she wouldn't have been able to detect anyone. She was afraid that she would never be able to discover that there was someone hiding here. Although she knew that the difference in strength between her and Kai Yang was huge, she didn't think it would be to this extent. She was a second-order Dao Source Realm cultivator, yet she didn't sense any danger in this place. If these 3 people targeted her, then her fate would be. Thinking of this, Yi Jinghan's whole body became drenched in sweat. Hee. Yang Kai suddenly laughed. He didn't look at the 3 people who had just appeared, and instead turned his head to look at an empty spot. What's wrong? Did this friend of his think that he had hidden himself well? Don't tell me you don't know that you're above me? I can smell your scent from far away. As soon as he finished speaking, another person appeared on the other side. There are more. Yi Jinghan's pretty face turned pale, and after she released her divine sense, she discovered that the auras of the 4 people who had just appeared were restrained, and they all had powerful cultivations. They were all cultivators of the 3rd Order Dao Source Realm. Any one of them could easily crush her to death. Now that there were 4 of them, even if she had a deep understanding of Yang Kai's strength, she couldn't help but worry. She didn't know if Yang Kai could fight against 4 of them. The 4 of them were also very strange. Ever since they appeared, they had not spoken a single word. Moreover, his face could not be seen clearly. This was because all four of them were wearing hideous ghost masks. These masks were obviously some kind of artifact that had the effect of isolating divine sense from probing. When Yang Kai released his divine sense, it was blocked by these masks. Aside from the masks, the clothes worn by the four of them were also the same. They were all dressed in black, and they looked very capable. Large characters were engraved on their clothes, and they were respectively wind, thunder, fire, and mountain. The auras emanating from their bodies were completely different, and there seemed to be a faint connection and resonance between them. Noticing this, Yang Kai's expression darkened. He realized that these four people were not to be trifled with, and it was highly likely that they had cultivated some kind of joint attack technique. Wind, thunder, fire, and mountain? Yi Jinghan furrowed her brows and a pensive look appeared on her face. It seemed like she had just recalled something. Friends, why have you been waiting here for so long? Yang Kai looked at the four of them with a smile and asked. The four of them didn't move, and after a long while, the ghost mask with the word wind on his clothes said, "Come with us." Yang Kai raised his brows and asked, "Who are you, and where are you going?" The cultivator with the word thunder said in a deep voice, "There's no need to ask. You'll find out once you make a trip." Yang Kai chuckled and said, "I'm sorry, but I'm a little afraid of strangers. I've never met you before, so I won't make a trip with you. We'll meet again someday." Saying so, he urged the wooden boat to leave. With a crackling sound, the cultivator with the word thunder turned into a bolt of lightning and blocked Yang Kai's path. He snorted coldly and said, "I'm afraid that's not up to you." Yang Kai's eyes narrowed, and he couldn't help thinking that this person was extremely fast. His short-distance movement was probably not inferior to his own teleportation. Moreover, judging from the aura emanating from his body, he should have cultivated a lightning attribute cultivation art. Lightning attribute cultivation arts were tyrannical and swift, so it was only natural for this person to possess such speed. Yang Kai's face sank. These people had obviously been hiding here for some time, and judging from their attitude and words, they had probably been waiting here for him. However, Yang Kai had no idea where these four people came from, or why they were looking for him. During this time, the only ones he had offended were Flying Saint Palace and Evil Moon Valley. But it was impossible for these two sects to have such a powerful cultivator, so it was definitely not them looking for trouble. Yang Kai secretly guessed that it was most likely the myriad's sword in his hand that had caused this disaster. But on second thought, this didn't seem right. If this was the case, there was no need for these people to ask him to go with them. It would be much faster to just kill them and steal their treasures. Thinking quickly, Yang Kai smiled and said, "Friend, you're quite fast. May I ask, what do you want me to do with you?" "No comment." The cultivator with the word thunder coldly replied, "Your arrogant attitude really makes it impossible to cooperate with you." Yang Kai curled his lips. What's the point of wasting time with him? The cultivator with the word fire seemed to have cultivated a fire attribute cultivation art, so his temper was as irritable as his source chi. When he saw Yang Kai dilly-dallying, he immediately let out a low roar, and a blood-red long blade appeared in his hand. He circulated his strength, and the blade swept up a cloud of flames before chopping down at Yang Kai's head. In an instant, the temperature in the air soared and the sky was dyed a fiery red. "Blood blade!" Yi Jinghan suddenly cried out involuntarily and covered her mouth with her small hands, her beautiful eyes trembling violently. He had a terrified look on his face. Yang Kai furrowed his brows and his body flickered, dodging the terrifying attack with Yi Jinghan and reappearing a few dozen feet away. He looked coldly at the four people and asked, "Do you know where these people came from?" "Blood blade. It's blood blade." Yi Jinghan replied in alarm. "That's why I'm asking you, what is blood blade?" Yang Kai shouted impatiently. Yi Jinghan took a deep breath and calmed her emotions before she replied. "Blood blade is an organization and isn't a sect, but it has a foundation that's even greater than a first-rate sect's. No one knows where its headquarters is, but traces of its activities can be seen in the territory of the Star Boundary's 4 great territories. They often take money from people and eliminate disasters for them. As long as they can afford it, There isn't anyone they don't dare to kill. Moreover, when they attack, they won't stop until one of them is dead. As she spoke, Yi Jinghan's voice trembled. Young Master Yang, why did Bloodblade target you? Yang Kai curled his lips and said, I'm also puzzled. He didn't even know about Bloodblade before this. As he spoke, he shouted at the 4 people in front of him. Friends of Bloodblade, right? May I ask who wants to take my life? No one. To Yang Kai's surprise, the wind-titled cultivator actually answered his question. We have just received orders from our superiors to bring you back to the headquarters. So we ask for your cooperation, friend. Yang Kai chuckled and said, It seems that being too flashy isn't a good thing. Young Master Yang, you're still in the mood to joke? Yi Jinghan stamped her foot and said, Look at me. Yang Kai stared at Yi Jinghan seriously and said in a deep voice, Do I look like I'm joking? Am I not flashy enough? I'm going crazy because of you. Yi Jinghan's face turned red. Asterisk shio shio shio. Asterisk all of a sudden, the sound of something tearing through the air rang out. While Yang Kai and Yi Jinghan were talking, the wind-titled cultivator took the opportunity to summon his blood-red saber and slashed out several wind blades. These wind blades were blood-red in color, as if they were made of blood, and they emitted a nauseating bloody aura. It was unknown how many people these people had killed, but their attacks were all bloody and ruthless, giving off a ruthless aura. Yang Kai's body flickered again, and he easily dodged these attacks. He looked at the people of Bloodblade with a sneer and said, If this is all you've got, you should go back home and become a farmer. It's not easy to survive in the outside world, and you may lose your life at any moment. Upon hearing Yang Kai's ridicule, only the fire-titled cultivator had an angry look in his eyes, while the other 3 remained indifferent. The wind cultivator nodded and said, It's just as the rumors say. He possesses the space divine technique, so he won't be easy to deal with. The thunder cultivator said, It's because of this that he's worth bringing back, isn't it? Let's begin. The fire cultivator shouted impatiently. Begin. The wind cultivator shouted loudly and his body shook. He circulated the energy in his body, causing a gust of wind to rise and whistling sounds to ring out. A vortex of wind appeared around his body, and he weaved hand signs with a laborious expression on his face. It seemed like he was about to use a powerful secret technique. The other 3 people did the same, but the energy emanating from their bodies was completely different. Yang Kai's expression became grave, and he shouted at Yi Jinghan, Protect yourself. As soon as he finished speaking, he pounced forward, and the myriad sword appeared in his hand. It was filled with Emperor's aura, sword chi and sword intent. It seemed like it was about to split the world apart, and he slashed it down at the wind cultivator. Since they knew that he possessed the space divine technique, yet they still dared to obstruct him here. It was obvious that they had some kind of trump card up their sleeves. The secret technique they were about to use together was probably this trump card. Since Yang Kai didn't know about them, how could he allow them to use their secret technique? As the sword slashed down, the world changed color, and the universe collapsed. The sword chi hadn't reached him yet, but a biting cold murderous intent had already pounced at him. The wind cultivator's pupils contracted as he smelled the scent of death. But he didn't dodge, and a resolute look flickered in his eyes, which were covered by the ghost mask, while his speed of weaving hand signs increased. Chapter 2288. At the same time, the other 3 Bloodblade cultivator also changed their hand seals, their expressions solemn. Buzz, a strange sound suddenly came out, and the source strength of the 4 people surged, halos fluctuating. Yang Kai's face changed. He found that the power of these 4 people had produced a great resonance at this moment, and they were closely connected to each other. Immovable. Mountain. The mountain cultivator who had not spoken until now suddenly shouted, his face flushed red, and his hands slammed down into the void. Boom! Boom! Accompanied by a violent sound, a huge phantom of a mountain appeared behind this person, flashing and disappearing into his body. A layer of invisible ripples leisurely spread out with him as the center, turning into a strange power that suppressed this part of the world. He sat cross-legged in the void and closed his eyes, like an old monk in meditation, not hearing, not seeing, and not moving. Boom! Yang Kai's myriad sword also slashed down at this moment. But the wind cultivator who bore the brunt of the attack raised the corner of his mouth, revealing a mocking smile. Pa! This sword strike landed 3 inches in front of the wind-titled cultivator, and the sharp sword chi tore apart the black hair in front of his forehead. It even tore open a bloody wound on his skin, but it still wasn't able to kill him as Yang Kai had hoped. The myriad's sword was directly blocked by an invisible barrier. What the hell? Yang Kai's eyes narrowed, and he stared at the wind cultivator in disbelief. He saw very clearly that the other party did not make any defensive moves, but miraculously blocked his fatal blow. While Yang Kai was still in a state of shock, the wind-titled cultivator had already pointed his finger at his chest. Wind and clouds swirled around the fingertip. It contained an enormous amount of power. Yang Kai hurriedly blocked with his sword. This finger hit the body of the myriad sword. In the next moment, Yang Kai's face changed greatly, and he felt a huge force coming from the front, as if a mountain had crashed into him, and he could not help but fall back. The aura on his body suddenly became chaotic. While he was in the air, a fiery red figure quietly attacked him. The fire cultivator held a blood-red blade, sweeping up a cloud of fire and slamming it down at Yang Kai's head. Young Master Yang, be careful. Yi Jinghan's pretty face turned pale, and she cried out involuntarily. Whoosh! The wind swept up the cloud of fire, and the two forces of different attributes overlapped perfectly, and in an instant, the whole world was dyed in a fiery red color. Yang Kai could naturally feel the ferocity of this move, and his face changed greatly, and he was about to teleport away, but a crackling sound was accompanied by an explosion. The thunder-titled cultivator appeared behind Yang Kai like a ghost, and sent a palm strike towards Yang Kai's back. This palm strike was so solid that Yang Kai was unable to dodge it at all. In an instant, thunder energy surged and lightning flashed wildly. It was like a group of demons dancing wildly. Yang Kai's figure was disturbed by the lightning, and he was instantly submerged in the cloud of fire. The coordination of the wind, thunder, and fire cultivators was simply perfect, and their timing was perfect. It was as if several clones of the same person were attacking at the same time, and in just 2 or 3 moves, Yang Kai had fallen into an irredeemable situation. Yi Jinghan's face turned pale, and her eyes trembled. She stared at the burning cloud of fire, and kept asking herself in her heart, did he die? Did he die just like that? It was undeniable that she had come into contact with Yang Kai. He was the most powerful Dao Source Realm cultivator, and his domineering aura, unrestrained demeanor, and strange and unpredictable means made her yearn for him, and she secretly felt that Yang Kai would definitely achieve great things in the future. But such a person had been killed right in front of her eyes. Yi Jinghan could not believe that he had died so easily. Asterisk schwa schwa schwa. Asterisk the wind cultivator, thunder cultivator, and fire cultivator appeared leisurely, and they stood side by side in the air, staring down coldly. Aren't our superiors making a fuss out of nothing? There's nothing special about this little brat. The fire cultivator snorted coldly, and said disdainfully. The wind cultivator furrowed his brows, and focused on sensing the movements in the cloud of fire. Upon hearing this, he said angrily, aren't you being too ruthless? Our superiors asked us to capture him alive, not bring his corpse back. If he really died just like that, how can we report to our superiors? The fire cultivator's expression changed slightly, and he seemed to have realized that the situation was far from good, but he still said stubbornly, how could I have known that this little brat was so weak? He couldn't even withstand a single move. What should we do now? The wind cultivator snorted coldly. You should deal with the trouble you caused, and I will report it to our superiors after we go back. The thunder cultivator furrowed his brows and said, that's enough, stop arguing. We can't be sure whether he's dead or not. Maybe this little brat is lucky, and only suffered heavy injuries. Fire cultivator, go down and take a look. The fire cultivator wasn't happy to hear this, but he still dashed into the cloud of fire to investigate. The wind cultivator and thunder cultivator waited anxiously, as they were afraid that Yang Kai would really die. After all, their superiors had ordered them to capture Yang Kai alive, and if they really killed him by mistake, their good days would come to an end, as the internal punishment of blood dagger wasn't something they could bear. The cloud of fire was still burning fiercely, and it seemed like it would continue burning until the end of time. The interior of the cloud was quiet, and the fire cultivator didn't react for a long while after he entered. The thunder cultivator and wind cultivator exchanged a glance, and they both realized that something was amiss. It was at this moment that a sudden change occurred. A muffled groan transmitted from the cloud of fire, and the fire cultivator's body flew out from it, while he spat out a mouthful of blood and midair. What? The expressions of the thunder cultivator and wind cultivator changed drastically. Swish, 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 swish. A strange sound suddenly transmitted from the cloud of fire, and it seemed like sword intent and sword chi filled the air. Along with this sound, the raging flames dispersed and disappeared completely, leaving a person standing there quietly. His whole body was covered in multicolored light. Young Master Yang. When Yi Jinghan saw the figure covered in multicolored light, she couldn't help but shed tears of joy. Impossible! When they saw Yang Kai's current state, the wind cultivator and thunder cultivator both cried out in alarm. They were shocked to discover that Yang Kai didn't seem to have suffered any injuries, and he was just in a sorry state. Moreover, the multicolored light emanating from his body seemed to contain a profound mystery. The two of them could clearly sense the pure energy of the 5 elements from the multicolored light. The 5 elements' energy appeared in the same person's body at the same time, and they countered each other while circulating endlessly, causing his aura to rise by a large margin. Be careful, this guy isn't easy to deal with. The fire cultivator also rushed over from nearby, and he wiped the blood from the corners of his mouth, while looking eagerly at Yang Kai. You don't have to say that. The thunder cultivator and wind cultivator both cast a glance at the fire cultivator at the same time. I'm really sorry for causing you to worry. Yang Kai waved the myriad sword in his hand, and the 5 elements' indestructible sword chi lingered around his body, while a sinister grin appeared on his face. While I was resting just now, this young master has a rough idea of what your combination technique is. Wind, thunder, fire, mountain, and everyone's energy can form a resonance with each other. And while they possess their own energy, they can also obtain the support of others' energy. After saying this, he cast a glance at the mountain cultivator, who was sitting in the void and paying no attention to the outside world, and said, Brother Mountain, you're in charge of defending and sealing this part of the world, right? It's no wonder that my teleportation didn't work just now. If it wasn't for my strong physical body, I would have suffered a great loss. The one who created this combination technique is really a genius, he said with a look of admiration. The wind cultivator's expression changed slightly. You managed to discern so much in such a short time? That's right. Yang Kai stretched out his hand and patted his body. I even took the time to change into a set of clean clothes. I wonder if you like them. The wind cultivator's expression turned ugly, because he discovered that Yang Kai really had changed into a new set of clothes, and he wasn't just joking. The thunder cultivator said with a gloomy expression, The higher-ups had a reason for ordering the 4 of us to act together. This boy can't be judged with common sense. No matter how strong he is, he's still just a second-order Dao Source Realm cultivator. The 4 of us can even fight against an ordinary cultivator from the Emperor Realm if we join forces. So why should we be afraid of him? The fire-titled cultivator seemed to be angry from embarrassment. Upon hearing this, Yi Jinghan's heart, which had just calmed down, immediately became anxious again. If the 4 of them could really fight against an ordinary cultivator from the Emperor Realm, then Yang Kai wouldn't have any chance of winning. No matter how strong Yang Kai was, he was only strong in the Dao Source Realm. So how could he be compared to someone from the Emperor Realm? After the 3 of them spoke one after another for a while, they all shut their mouths and looked at Yang Kai with solemn gazes. On the other side, Yang Kai just responded with a smile, as if he didn't care at all. An austere atmosphere slowly pervaded the air. Yi Jinghan felt a chill run down her spine, as if she had fallen into an ice cellar. The omnipresent murderous intent was drilling into her skin, making her feel extremely uncomfortable. She also knew that she wouldn't be able to help Yang Kai in this battle with her strength, so she didn't want to cause trouble for Yang Kai, so her delicate body flickered as she moved to the side. At a certain moment, the murderous intent colliding with each other exploded like a bomb, and the atmosphere in the air changed abruptly. The fire-titled cultivator shouted, "Kill!" As he shouted, the thunder cultivator, who was the fastest among them, appeared in front of Yang Kai in a flash. He raised his hand high, and thunder energy surged out of his palm, before he slapped it down. In an instant, endless crackling sounds rang out. Yang Kai's pupils contracted, and he snorted coldly, 3,000 sword Dao seal. As he used his ultimate move, sword waves streaked across the sky, and filled the air around Yang Kai, before they bombarded the thunder cultivator. But the thunder cultivator didn't show any fear, and he just curled up the corners of his mouth, before his body blurred and disappeared. He was replaced by the fire-titled cultivator, who was still a few dozen feet away, and he suddenly appeared in front of Yang Kai. Form displacement transposition. Yang Kai's expression changed drastically. The fire-titled cultivator waved his blade, and a cloud of fire whizzed over, before he shouted, "Raging flames burning the plains!" Bang! 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 The sword chi collided with the flames, and an intense rumbling sound echoed out. For a moment, the surrounding world's spirit chi was thrown into chaos, and the void shuddered, while spirit chi splashed out in all directions. Thunderstorm. The thunder cultivator suddenly appeared on Yang Kai's left side, and with a slap of his hand, several bolts of lightning as thick as an arm appeared above Yang Kai's head, before they rained down on him. Chapter 2289. Yang Kai had just broken through the blazing cloud of fire, when several bolts of lightning crackled down from the sky, and struck his body, causing him to tremble and emit a charred smell. The power of this lightning was incredible, and if it were not for Yang Kai's physique being extraordinary, and his 5 elements indestructible sword tempering art, he would have fainted on the spot. Even so, he felt that his source chi was blocked, and his circulation was somewhat sluggish. Spring breeze. Rain. The wind character cultivator had appeared beside Yang Kai at some unknown time, and raised his blood-red blade, creating a gentle breeze that enveloped Yang Kai. This gentle breeze seemed to contain a strange power that could make people drowsy and give up all resistance. As the wind poured into Yang Kai's body, Yang Kai's eyes couldn't help but appear dazed for a moment. At this critical moment, Yang Kai bit the tip of his tongue and space principles swirled around his body, before he sent out several huge moon blades in all directions. Dodge! The wind character cultivator's complexion changed as he shouted in a low voice. The thunder character cultivator and fire character cultivator seemed to have some understanding of Yang Kai's abilities. When they saw this space secret technique being used, their expressions became solemn, and they quickly used their movement skills to dodge. Asterisk voila. Asterisk accompanied by a soft sound, a pair of illusory wings suddenly appeared behind Yang Kai's back. Above these wings, the power of wind and thunder lingered, causing Yang Kai's speed to suddenly increase. Wind and thunder wings. Yang Kai hadn't used these things for a long time, and as his strength increased and his mastery of space principles improved, the role of the wind and thunder wings became less and less useful. But at this moment, with this part of the world being suppressed by the mountain character cultivator, Yang Kai simply couldn't teleport away. He could only display the wind and thunder wings to slightly increase his speed. Wind swirled and thunder surged. The appearance of this pair of psionic wings stunned the wind cultivator and thunder cultivator, as if they had not expected Yang Kai to have grasped the power of wind and thunder, including this person's elemental energy, as well as his own spatial energy, blood knife. And the others were shocked to discover that Yang Kai had mastered so many different types of energy, that it was simply breathtaking. Whoosh! With the help of the wind and thunder wings, Yang Kai's speed increased again. In just a flash, he appeared in front of the fire cultivator. His face was almost in front of the other party. The cultivator with the word fire was shocked. They looked at each other and saw the sarcasm and murderous intent in Yang Kai's eyes. He couldn't help but roar angrily. "Why are you staring at me? Always pick the soft persimmon to pinch." Kai Yang grinned. The expression of the cultivator with the word fire changed as he growled. "Are you saying that I'm the easiest to deal with?" "Who knows?" Yang Kai grinned. The reason why he was the first to make a move on the cultivator with the word fire was indeed as this person had said. He was the easiest to deal with. The cultivator with the word mountain was not mentioned. At a glance, one could tell that he was a person who focused on defense. Under the resonance of the four people's powers, Yang Kai estimated that he might not be able to break through his defense in a short time. The cultivator with the word wind and the word thunder were extremely fast people. Only the word fire cultivator was a soft persimmon among the four people. As he spoke, he stretched out his hand and pointed forward. He growled, "Condense." The law of space was leisurely mobilized. It fell from midair and caused the ground to shake, causing dust to fly everywhere. The four people from Blood Dagger were stunned. All of them wore blank looks as they stared towards the hill, none of them understanding what kind of divine ability Yang Kai was using that allowed him to summon a hill out of thin air. What the hell is this? The wind cultivator gradually calmed down. Seeing this, he waved his hand impatiently. A gust of wind blew and blew away the dust. The hill was instantly imprinted in their eyes. In the next moment, the four from Blood Dagger widened their eyes as they stared dumbfoundedly at the small mountain, their faces filled with disbelief. Hey, am I seeing things?" The fire-titled cultivator could not help but shout. He swallowed his saliva and said, "Why do I feel that this hill looks like a human? It even has 2 arms and 2 legs." Gulp. The other 3 people also swallowed their saliva. Their expressions were extremely difficult. "What the hell is this?" the wind cultivator asked in shock. "There's a woman." The thunder cultivator narrowed his eyes and looked at the beautiful figure sitting on the hill's shoulder. "It must be an illusion. It must be an illusion." The fire-titled cultivator looked frightened. With a pale face, he muttered to his companions, "Did this hill smile at me just now? It must be an illusion." It's possible." The wind cultivator showed a thoughtful look. "This little brat probably used some kind of illusion technique." As he spoke, he turned his head to look at Yang Kai, only to see Yang Kai looking at them with a meaningful smile. This smile made the wind-titled cultivator shudder, and he couldn't help but have a bad premonition. "You should have called us out earlier." Hua Qingxi sat on the embodiment's shoulder and shook her legs. She curled her lips and said, "I really don't know why you fought with them alone. It's a waste of time and energy." She seemed to have seen the battle just now clearly in the small sealed world. The embodiment grinned and said in a thunderous voice, "Didn't we come out now?" When the woman and the mountain suddenly spoke, the 4 Blood Dagger cultivators were startled, and their faces turned pale. It was because they felt that what they saw and heard was so real. It was as if the woman and the mountain really existed. It was not an illusion caused by some kind of illusion technique. Yang Kai chuckled and said, "I didn't expect that the 4 of them would be so powerful. I wanted to fight against the 4 of them alone. In the end, I was almost beaten into a pig's head." Hua Qingxi snorted. Yang Kai curled his lips and said, "It wasn't that bad. They were just a little troublesome. Sister Hua, pick one of them." Hua Qingxi's beautiful eyes rolled and she giggled. Her gaze swept over the 4 Blood Dagger cultivators, and finally fixed on the fire-titled cultivator. She pointed at him and said, "I'll pick him." They all like to bully soft persimmons. Yang Kai laughed involuntarily. The waiter had been serving customers all year round, so he seemed to have developed a pair of discerning eyes. Even though he was just a Saint Realm Master, he could tell that Yang Kai was a Dao Source Realm Master. Moreover, he had a glib tongue and was pleasing to the eye. He was very likable. Yang Kai said with a smile. Okay, you can arrange it for me. When the waiter heard this, he was overjoyed and said, Master, I will definitely satisfy you. If you aren't satisfied, Master, you can break this little one's bones and stew it into soup. Yang Kai nodded and said, Okay, if you aren't satisfied, I will fulfill your wish. The waiter's face darkened and he said, Then, this little one will do his best. Saying so, he immediately left, and seemed to have gone to arrange it. While waiting, Yang Kai sat by the window and looked at the scenery below. He felt that it was quite interesting. The gloomy mood of the past few days was swept away, and the previous uneasy feeling seemed to have disappeared. Since this young lady is willing to pay double for these things, just sell them to her. Upon hearing this, the shopkeeper immediately cast a grateful look at Yang Kai and bowed. Thank you for your generosity. Luo Bing shouted. Why are you talking as if he gave them to me? I snatched it from you. Yes. You were the one who snatched it. This one admits defeat. Yang Kai nodded repeatedly. That's more like it. Luo Bing's face turned slightly amiable, and she raised her head proudly. She knocked on the table and said, Tell me, how many source crystals are they? The shopkeeper looked at the abacus in front of him and said, If you buy them, it will cost 1864, 300 source crystals. You can round it off, and make it 18,660,000. So, young lady Luo only needs to pay 37,200,000 source crystals. Gudong. Luo Bing couldn't help swallowing her saliva and said with difficulty, How much? The shopkeeper raised his head, and reported the price again with an indifferent look on his face. This time, even Xiaoyu couldn't help but open his eyes wide, and look at Yang Kai in shock. He didn't expect that the things Yang Kai bought would cost so many source crystals. This amount of source crystals was enough to move most Dao Source Realm cultivators. Even Xiaoyu, the young palace master of Sky Illumination Palace, didn't have so many source crystals. Yang Kai's huge financial resources showed that he wasn't an ordinary cultivator. Luo Bing was also dumbfounded, and didn't come back to her senses for a long time. After a while, Luo Bing said bitterly, Shopkeeper, are you sure you didn't make a mistake? The shopkeeper said in a neither servile nor overbearing tone. This old man has been in charge of this shop for 30 years, and has never made a mistake. Yang Kai grinned and said, What's wrong, young lady Luo? You don't have enough money to buy them? Who said I don't have enough money? When Luo Bing heard this, she jumped up like a rabbit whose tail had been stepped on and said, This little amount of source crystals is nothing in this young lady's eyes. My father, master, gave me more than this amount of pocket money. N. Yang Kai nodded repeatedly and cupped his fists. Young lady Luo is so rich and generous. I really admire you. Luo Bing said in a low voice. But I left in a hurry today and didn't bring them with me. Yang Kai smiled and cast a sidelong glance at her. Young lady Luo, you don't want to buy them on credit, do you? Who said I wanted to buy them on credit? Luo Bing's face turned red. She really did want to just now, but after being ridiculed by Yang Kai, she didn't have the face to do it. She could only stare at Xiaoyu and say, Brother you. Xiaoyu instinctively wiped his space ring, and the corners of his mouth twitched as he said, Sister Bing, I only have 10 million. When Luo Bing heard this, she stamped her feet and said, Why didn't you bring more source crystals with you when you left? Xiaoyu was speechless. He thought that 10 million was already a lot, and it was all of his hard-earned savings. How could he have more? Moreover, even if he had more, he couldn't take it out at this time. He had spent twice the price to buy some herbs in a fit of pique, and he had spent his own source crystals. Luo Bing would never return them to him. As he thought of this, Xiaoyu glared at Yang Kai with hatred. He felt that this boy was secretly playing tricks to embarrass him. Yang Kai acted as if he didn't see it and laughed. Young lady Luo, it turns out that you didn't bring enough money. In that case, I will take these herbs. Stop. Luo Bing shouted, and threw herself at the herbs. She used her body to protect them, as if she was protecting something very important. She shouted at Yang Kai, Wait a moment. I will go back and ask my father, master, to give me enough source crystals. Will the city lord master give you the source crystals? Yongkai curled his lips.